Being home sick with a sick kid kind of sucks, but it gave me the opportunity to lock in and listen to a great interview with Daryl Morey yesterday. And there was a lot to react to. We'll get into that, Phillies, and of course the Birds, because I got Andrew DeCecco here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I hated the Sir Anthony Dominguez trade last year. I hate that they did not bring back either one of Hoffman or Estevez. And now I'm sitting here going, yeah, we were right about all three. And that guy was not.
And that's bad. It's bad that we were right about all three.
Now, do I think he can still make this Phillies team great?
I think Tatum Brown.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Friday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man Andrew DeCecco, who is in for John Kincade this morning. What's up, fellow football guy?
What's going on, Andrew? Good to be with you, man.
See, notice I never say what's up, fellow football guy to John in the morning.
It's
Just
a badge
kidding.
of honor.
Just kidding, John. You're probably listening, you psycho. Congratulations to the Kincade family. Great day for him and his daughter Liv, who graduated from Temple yesterday, and they had the great selfie before. I don't know if it was before or after graduation, but a beautiful picture. I texted John yesterday. He was just through the moon with happiness and excitement. So congratulations to the Kincade family. Well-deserved day off for Johnny today, and he'll be back on Monday.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations to the Kincade family.
Liv, man, it's amazing. All of a sudden, she's graduated. I'm acting like I've known her my entire life, which I haven't. Anyways, so yesterday, Daryl Morey joined the Mike Missanelli show, which was a very much anticipated interview for me. I believe that Mike Missanelli is one of, if not the greatest interviewers here in the city when it comes to sports talk. Not just from the journalistic integrity, but also trying to speak for the fans, which I know he does that very well. So I was very excited to hear Daryl on with Mike yesterday because I know Mike was ready to go because there was a lot to be upset about following this past season for the Philadelphia 76ers. And there was a lot to be upset about, even more so because we questioned a lot of the decisions, right? Like before the season even started, I was against the addition of Paul George. I was against the addition of all the old players that they acquired. I understand that there was resumes, and I appreciated the resumes, but you were relying on an old car with 300,000 miles on it to do a cross-country road trip. And that's just a bad decision to make by Daryl Morey. And he was on with Mike yesterday. We'll play a bunch of clips for you guys. But my question to start the show today, it's 610-632-0975, is whether or not you have any faith left that the big three of Joel Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and the leadership of Daryl Morey can still win something. Because if you heard Daryl yesterday, Daryl Morey said they are still committed to that big three. All this talk about maybe trying to find a way to move on from Paul George, it could still happen, right? Like Daryl Morey can't go out there on the radio and says, yeah, we're going to do whatever we can to trade Paul George, right?
Right.
He was very, when the James Harden situation was going on, he was very kind of vague with what was going on, but he never said we're looking to move James Harden. He would always drop the if James wants to stay here, he can stay here conversation, right? But he did say we're still committed to this big three. Do you guys have any faith left that this big three and the leadership of Daryl Morey can still win something? And you know how much I love the Sixers. You know how much I love Joel Embiid. And you know, I say it every single day whenever we talk about Joel Embiid, I'm going down with the ship. Despite the ship having cracks and leaks and one of the motors doesn't work anymore, I'm going to go down with the ship because he is a generational talent. When healthy, we know how good this guy can be. The problem is it just doesn't happen all that often, but I can't just give up. I'm not just going to sell him for a bag of donuts, right? Like I need something in return, and I don't think there's that value right now. So I'll ask you, Andrew, before we play our first clip from Daryl Morey, do you have any faith that he can lead this big three? It's this group of four to still winning a championship. And that's what it's all about. It's championship.
Yeah, I don't. I think they're going to be a playoff team next year, Andrew,
Yeah.
but I don't view them as being a championship contender, not with the current infrastructure. Now, you and I are Embiidsmen.
Yes.
I think that when he was at his best, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more impressive athlete in this city.
There's a reason why he was an MVP and a runner-up 2 times.
But you mentioned Paul Pierce. I remember I was in studio with you and John when that happened.
Yeah.
And I was really fired up about that. You were on the other side of it, and you look like you're correct right now. But
I like the fit from a basketball standpoint. But if I'm doing the what-if game with Joel Embiid, you have to play the same game with Paul George. The guy's never
100%.
healthy.
He literally just turned 35 years old. He's not going to suddenly get healthier. And I think what we've seen this year is Maxey is not equipped to lead a team.
Yeah.
He's a
trying to tell the
1B,
people that.
right?
Yeah, he's
So-
very good. He's very good, but he's not the guy. He's not. He just can't be the guy. And so you're going to rely on him a lot to be the guy because let's face it, in 2025-26, Joel Embiid's not going to play 82 games. Paul George is not going to play 82 games.
Absolutely not.
And there's going to be a lot of times where both of them will be both out of the lineup on a given night, and Tyrese Maxey's going to have to lead that team. And I don't think that he can do that by himself. So Mike yesterday, again, a lot of great things coming out of that interview. He basically asked Daryl, like, how can you tell the people that are listening, the fans, that you'll be able to fix this? And I absolutely hated this answer. And I like Daryl. I've had the chance to sit down and have lunch with Daryl. I like the guy, but this answer cannot be something that you do because when you do this, it tells you that your back is completely up against the wall.
I mean, this first losing season I've ever had, more deep playoff runs than pretty much any executive in league history. I've never been to the lottery. That's, probably because we only win, so I'm pretty good at the winning thing.
So you're dropping the resume. When you drop the resume, or when you start telling people, I know what I'm doing, trust me, that's when you know your back is up against the wall. Because here's the deal. I don't think he has another answer.
He doesn't. When you're going to the spare me the resume. I can go to Google and find that.
Right.
Give us answers. That's what we're looking for as fans of this basketball team. And he continues to come up short. And when you have that much talent, it's really inexcusable. He has a lot of work to do this offseason.
And the problem is, Andrew, the future, his future, right? The Daryl Morey, you dropped the resume of I'm good at winning, his first year I've ever been in the lottery. You're basing the future of the Philadelphia 76ers, like the near future, the next couple of years, on ifs. If Joel Embiid is healthy. If Paul George is healthy. If Tyrese Maxey can take another step forward and be the guy to carry the team when those guys are out.
If McCain returns to form from the injury last year.
If any of these young guys, like, spare me the Adembonas, right? Like,
exactly.
I understand he's a nice guy and he's tall and, he's athletic. Just because he's athletic doesn't mean he's necessarily good at basketball. I had the same conversation about Paul Reed for years, right? There's a lot of ifs that he is basing this future on. And the biggest ifs are obviously 2 of your highest paid players and health. And I can't sit here and say, yeah, you know what? I'm confident that this is going to be fixed when the majority of your answer is based on ifs. If Joel Embiid is healthy, if Paul George is healthy. That's not something that you should be confident in.
That would be blind faith if we did that.
Yes.
No, we're realistic. I need to see answers.
Blind faith in something that hasn't shown. I've never seen a healthy Paul George season in a Sixers uniform, right? You can tell me that the year before he was healthy. Of course he was healthy on a contract year. I tried saying that to the man's face. And then Joel Embiid, you know how much I love him.
Yeah.
As you said it just perfectly, we're Embiidsmen. The guy's never healthy. And so I have to base the future of the Philadelphia 76ers on whether or not he can be healthy for once, on whether or not Paul George can be healthy or not. It's unbelievable. All right. You can text the show at 610-632-0975, or I missed it yesterday. The phones are back. Unbelievable.
Indeed they are.
You can call the show. The phone number is the same. If you want to text, hey, feel free. I love our texters. But I also miss talking to a lot of you. You can call in or text in, same number, 610-632-0975. Do you have any faith that this big 3 of Embiid and Paul George and Maxey and the leadership of Daryl Morey can win something? We'll discuss that coming up next. Also, we all know that it all comes down to Joel Embiid and his health. Is Joel Embiid healthy or not? Morey spoke optimistically on that yesterday. You'll hear it next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew Checo in for John today here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Connor Thomas.
Here's the thing with Aaron Nola.
Aesthetic.
Pro.
It is 6:13 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco in for Johnny the K today. Gunner, you too you weren't doing mornings yesterday. That's right. What was your day? Did you work at all yesterday?
You know, just the old hours complaint where they
Correct.
just tell you to stay home.
So this is your first chance to react. So I want you to answer the question before we play these Daryl Morey clips on Joel Embiid. Do you have any faith that this big three and the leadership of Daryl Morey can still win something?
Hell no, dude. Like, there's no way. There's just simply no way. I would love it for it to happen, but we're living in the land of what ifs, as you guys talked about in that opening segment. Is Embiid going to stay healthy? Can Tyrese Maxey take the next step? Is Paul George going to not be a 36-year-old that can be healthy?
Right.
Like, it's impossible for this team to stay healthy right now. And Daryl Morey yesterday, yeah, he put some a little bit of water on the Embiid hysteria that he's never going to play again, but Is he ever going to play again for a sustained period of time? Like, I doubt it.
Right. And, like, look, you can't say no way because there could be the magical season where Embiid's knee decides to hold up. One of them. Tell them both of them, whatever.
One would be nice.
But the odds are it's probably not going to happen.
It's like that little kid. It's like, wow, the land of make-believe. Like, that's where you'd have to be living in for the Sixers to go out there and put it all together for 2 months in the postseason.
So you mentioned Morey talking about Embiid. First, here's Daryl Morey talking about sort of what they did that led to the procedure and the procedure itself.
I believe that was announced. He had a scope. It looks optimistic. He's with the doctor that did Kawhi. He's up in New York working with him this week. He's working every day at the facility. I was with him yesterday working with his folks. So he's working hard doing whatever he can to get back out on the floor. You know, I mentioned this before. His issues are not, I break my arm, it heals and you come back. This is more of a complex case that these things can trend in a good direction over time, and we believe they will.
Yeah, but they could also trend in a bad direction.
And when he said Kawhi, when he equated that to Kawhi, that's a little concerning. When you look at Kawhi's injury history, it reads like a CVS receipt.
Yeah, he's not really the guy you want to try to make people feel confident in, like that he's going to be healthy. Now, look, Kawhi, when he did come back this year and then into the playoffs, was spectacular. Like, nobody's doubting Kawhi Leonard's talent, just like nobody's doubting Joel Embiid's talent. But you all know the story. You look at GP, games played, and you go, oh, Kawhi Leonard, 37 games last year. Oh, Joel Embiid, 19 games last year. Like, that's not something that you should start waving a rally towel about. Like, oh, we got Kawhi's doctor to work with Embiid. And then for him to say, this isn't like, oh, he broke his arm. Yeah, that's the bad thing. Like, if he did break his arm, I know a surgery fixes it. I don't know what fixes the degenerative knee issues that this guy's been having since he started playing in the NBA. And you're basing everything on what ifs. Now, Morey continues and says he still believes the best of Embiid is still there.
No, I don't think that's written. I don't think we know that. I think MVP Joel Embiid is still potentially there. He's in an age where lots of players still play to their prime. He's in an age where lots of players, even with issues, have come back and played at a high level. So, no, I do not think that.
But here's the problem, Daryl. Even though I do believe he still has the ability, obviously, when he says there's people that are still playing that high at his age in his prime, guards.
Yeah, not with the severity of injuries that he's had.
Yeah, like,
so let's be real.
Like, we're talking about a guy that gets season-ending injuries every single year, and you're trying to tell me because he's still just 30 or will be 31 years old that he's going to be okay?
But the most troubling thing for me, Andrew, is we've seen Embiid at his best just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And now we don't know. That could very well be the last we've seen of him being great, Joel Embiid.
Look, the best season that he was going to have was 2 years ago when the Knicks series, right? He gets hurt in the middle of the season. He was on pace for breaking records that year. So it's not like that's too far removed.
It's the last time we saw him completely healthy. He was the best player on the planet.
Right. So when he's right, he still has the ability. So I agree with Daryl Morey that there is an MVP type of player that's still there. But the problem is you are saying that you think the knee's just going to magically heal. He's had 8 surgeries. Like, on the knees.
He's been through
and
the ringer,
feet.
yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, how many more times can he get cut open or scoped or whatever you want to say?
Yeah, that was an underwhelming answer. If you believe that, then I have a bridge to sell you.
So here's the deal. Speaking of underwhelming, coming up next, you're going to hear a couple more clips from Daryl Morey, who joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. As great as Mike was as the interviewer, there's something that bothered me about the answers from Daryl Morey. And it's a very specific thing. And I wonder where you guys will fall on this. It is Kincade and Salciunas with Andrew DeCecco in for John today here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils sweep in Tampa. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, allowed 2 runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in the final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run home run by Bryson Stott in the 8th inning. The Phils completed that comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 43 games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phillies head up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola's on the mound tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA draft lottery is approaching this Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. And if any fans have any questions about the Sixers core going forward, Daryl Morey answered them while he was on Mike Missanelli's show yesterday.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
And now we're just 5 days away from the NFL schedule release on May 14th, where we'll find out the Eagles' road to repeat. We'll keep you updated on anything surrounding the Birds' schedule coming up as we get it. This update was brought to you by Macy's Backstage. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about fun Mother's Day gifts? Get low prices every day on unique finds before they're gone. Find a location near you at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Truist Championship, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
They're top 8 in batting average. They're top 4 in on-base percentage. They're top 4 batting average with runners.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco in for Johnny the K today. We've been reacting to some of the audio from Daryl Morey, who joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. And again, credit to Mike Missanelli for being a great interviewer like he is. But there is something about the Daryl Morey answers that bother me that I'll get to you guys coming up here in a little bit. You can answer our question at 610-632-0975. Do you have any faith still left that this big three and the leadership of Daryl Morey can win something? And my answer is no. I don't think I officially gave an answer. Now, I'm going down with the ship of Joel Embiid. I don't think Paul George helps. Okay? And I said that before the season started. I don't think you can rely on your sort of insurance plan, because you need one with Joel Embiid, to be another oft-injured player. Like, that's my biggest thing, right? Like, if you have a car and you know it's on its way out, right? It's got a lot of mileage on it. Your backup car is not going to be another car with a missing muffler.
A lemon.
And yeah, exactly. Like you want to have another young, newer car, another used car that has less miles on it that's ready to go. Instead, you get a guy that's hurt just as much as Joel Embiid.
That's what's swaying me towards no, is because the fallback plan, the other complement is Paul George.
Right.
And that's super underwhelming to me. A 35-year-old who's injury prone and really hasn't shown to be a good fit for what they envision him to be.
And I know that they believe in load management, right? They kind of have to with Joel Embiid, and you know it's going to happen this year. But here's the deal. Imagine you're Nick Nurse, right? And I know he's getting paid millions of dollars, so I don't think anyone cares or feels bad for Nick Nurse. But on the nights where Maxey and Embiid play, and then the nights that Maxey and Paul George play, that's two totally different offenses.
Absolutely.
Like, that's a totally different scheme. That's a totally different defense. Because Joel Embiid, whether people want to admit it or not, because people have hatred for the guy, he is still a great rim protector when his knee's on right. But the problem is you're changing up. Imagine 1 week it's Jalen Hurts, the next week it's Tanner McKee, right? Like,
yeah,
we're going to do a season where Hurts is going to play 9 of the games and McKee's going to play in the other 8. Your offense changes every single week drastically. The same goes with Maxey and Embiid, because Embiid gets the ball at the top of the key and everything runs through him. And then Paul George is a wing player. So even on the nights where you're load managing, I remember when they tried doing the Embiid and Al Horford thing. Oh, well, the best part will be when Embiid's out, you can do the same things with Al Horford. That makes more sense than this. And then your backup to Embiid is a Dembona. And the problem that I saw with a Dembona and before Dembona, Paul Reed 2 seasons ago, what Nick Nurse did, what Doc Rivers would do, would try to run the same offense. You can't do that. You can't have Embiid for 35 minutes a night and then try to keep on running the same offense for the other, 10 or 9.
Square peg, round hole.
It doesn't work.
And we don't even know. Yeah, we don't even know if a Dembona can play, like, for real.
It's not even just Bona. The spacing on the floor for everybody else when Embiid's not out there is not the same. They're not getting the open looks. They're not getting the good three-point looks.
No,
so how are you going to run the same damn offense?
And they do that, and that's a problem that I've been having with this team for over the years. So let me play you 2 more clips. First and foremost, Daryl Morey, always great with sort of his initial answer. Here he is admitting to, obviously, the disaster of a season.
It was a disaster season. There's really no way to say anything but that. Look, I would say the roster next year is going to be much stronger. One thing when you have a disaster season is how do you take advantage of it? You want to give yourself a chance at a high pick in the draft, which we have. We've got an early second. Next year, our roster will be more athletic and younger with Grimes, with Edwards, with Bona, with Jared McCain, with potentially a top draft pick, and we're going to have a healthier team. So I would say, look, hang in. We feel your pain, fans, and, let's play this out next year. We feel very strongly about next year.
I don't want to keep on picking on Dembona, but, really?
He threw him in there like we weren't going to notice.
And Jared McCain, you got to see if he can come back from his injury. And, I like Quentin Grimes. It was fun to watch him play, right? Like, it was perfect. I got to watch a guy drop 40 and this team still lose. It was the perfect tanking situation. But he did that when the ball was in his hands. He's going to have to now play with Maxey and George and Embiid and McCain and not take 20 shots.
And a much more complimentary role.
Right. So unless he's saying that and maybe he could trade him for something because maybe there's a team that goes, wow, look at what he did when he had his opportunity. But how am I supposed to know? And Daryl might not even know. How does he work with everyone else? We had never had a chance to see.
Yeah, we don't know. So I think you have to bring him back. I don't even think you can try to move him because you have to see how he gels with the other team member, depending on how that comes together.
Now, this one really bothered me. It bothered me when he had the press conference. And there's a little teaser for what bothered me ultimately with Daryl Morey. Here was Daryl Morey finally realizing something.
Obviously, we came in with the third best odds to win the title last year in Vegas. And, my thinking was there as well, was how do I get this group healthy and into the playoffs? How do I have playoff-level players? And generally, those are players with playoff experience, ones that sort of round out, can shoot, things like that. What I did not do well was make sure we have the youth and athleticism to get through the regular season and put us in that position. And that's something we will do next year.
So, something that bothers me from that clip is that he's just realizing he needs youth and athleticism. Daryl Morey's a smart man. Daryl Morey knows the sport of basketball. But Daryl Morey acting like this was some revelation. No,
you got it right.
Jeez. That he needs young and athletic players. It's like, yeah, dude, that's the NBA.
That's how it goes.
And again, insurance policies. If a guy goes down, you need to have somebody ready to go. And you had Eric Gordon and Reggie Jackson as backup options and Kyle Lowry as backup options. Like, those guys are 100. And so...
a lot of mileage.
I think back to his Rockets times, right? Like, I was curious when I heard that clip yesterday. I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. I know basketball. I loved James Harden, so I was watching those Rockets teams, right? When they were going to the Western Conference Finals and just losing to the Warriors. I'm like, they weren't an old team, were they? So I pull it up. You had two legitimate vets, Dwight Howard and Trevor Ariza, who had 10 years of experience in the NBA, which is kind of wild because that was way back in 2015. But everybody else, Harden was just 5 years in the league. Clint Capella was a rookie. Corey Brewer, 7 years in. Patrick Beverley was just 2 years in. Like, these were important players to the team. They were young. Monte Eunice, my Lithuanian brother, and he was his second year in the league. So he's pointing out this revelation of, wow, we need young players. Dude, you had that already. When you were the guy, when everybody wanted Daryl Morey as their president of basketball operations, you had that youth.
So why the deviation? Did he just try to patchwork it?
I don't know. And so here's one of my biggest problems, Andrew, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Fair or unfair? I don't like it when he has the exact same answers as his press conference and other interviews, whether it's somebody from ESPN's interviewing him or now at the Mike Missanelli show. I don't like the predetermined answer.
It sounds calculated in my mind, and it sounds like he still has that bit of arrogance to him, man. Like, talking about, I've never had a losing season, I've never been in the lottery, but I'm also going to do a complete 180. If you're going to do a complete 180, you got to lose the arrogance because it means you were completely wrong this past season. So you can't have that. They can't go hand in hand together.
The answers are already ingrained in him. He knows exactly what he's going to say every single time. He knows what he's going to say,
and that bothers me,
and I think he actually believes it. To some of those answers, like Paul George, obviously he's going to prop up his player. He's not going to say, well, it didn't work out. But I really do believe that he thinks that he has an answer to this. I tend to disagree. But what I will say is, drafting-wise, I think you can be optimistic because you look at McCain, you look at Maxey, they've hit on some of their draft picks in recent years.
Yeah. So. I don't know how... I get that, like, Gershon Yabusele was a fun story this year. Okay, will he be a fun story with Joel Embiid? Will Quentin Grimes be a fun story with everybody else? I love basketball. I don't think I have that answer. I think the smart people within a basketball organization will have to be the ones to answer that question. Because I've seen in this city, and this is one of the difficulties, not a problem, but difficulties of playing with Joel Embiid. I've seen very talented players come here and then their game just kind of takes a bit of a hit because so much runs through Joel Embiid. I've seen guys explode on the scene, right? Like J.J. Redick was always a good shooter, but you saw his numbers with Joel Embiid, what Joel Embiid was able to do for him. Mm-hmm. But then there's guys that are so used to having the ball in their hands that I don't know how good Quentin Grimes will be with Joel Embiid next year.
But I feel like that's always going to be the question as long as Joel Embiid is the centerpiece.
Which he still should be.
And I agree with you. But with him, the availability is always going to be a concern. So you're never going to quite know how some of those younger pieces will fit with them. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
All right, you can text in. You can call in 610-632-0975. By the way, Tyler checks in. They did have Chris Paul and P.J. Tucker on those on those teams. Not the year they got to the Western Conference Finals. Is what I'm saying. Like, they had a lot of success. Daryl Morey had a lot of success.
Yeah,
you
were talking about 2015.
Talking about the team that got to the Western Conference Finals. That team had a lot of young players on it. They had a couple of key vets. Don't get me wrong. Jason Terry, nice guy off the bench.
Yeah,
but there was a lot of young players on that team. I don't know. I just can't believe he finally realized that you have to be young and athletic in the NBA. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text messages for the first time this morning. Do you still have faith in Daryl Morey in this big three, specifically Embiid, George, and Maxey? It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
What do you say to the folks that said after a season like this, you shouldn't have kept your job? Why do you think?
fanatic. My man Andrew DeCecco filling in for John today. We'll react to the Phillies win and sweep of the Rays to start the 7 o'clock hour. Of course, I got some bird stuff that I want to get into with Andrew because the Eagles did the right thing the other day. And I am a happy man.
You are no longer
borderline devastated, man. Dallas Goedert back. Love that. We'll get into all kinds of stuff as the show continues. But I wanted to start off with the Sixers today after Daryl Morey joined Mike Missanelli yesterday. And it was great. Mike was great, respectfully, to Daryl. There was just a lot of things that I heard a lot of I heard a lot of we're basing our future on what ifs. Saying that you're still committed to the big three of Maxey and Embiid, which I'm fine with, and Paul George is a little concerning to me, unless he's just saying the right things because he kind of has to. But Paul George, as your insurance policy to Joel Embiid, who is not always healthy, is a dangerous game to play. He was healthy for one season, and it was his contract year. Before that, 56 games, 31 games, 54 games, 48 games. And as I said to you a couple segments ago, the nights that Embiid's out and Paul George is in with Maxey, your offense is totally different than the nights when it's Maxey and Embiid. And so now you're trying to coach basically two different teams.
It's far different. Now, what I don't like, Andrew, is that Daryl Morey is sort of taking the fan base for fools.
Yeah.
We know what we saw out there.
Yes.
And we know that those answers that he's giving, that he gave Mike yesterday, they don't add up. But they have a lot of work to do this offseason to get this team back to where they should be.
Yeah.
And it could start as early as Monday. We'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Well, yeah, I mean, we get the draft lottery on Monday, and who knows, right? To pray for the number 1 overall pick, even if it's
or even a top 3. Ace Bailey from Rutgers. They have 2 guys from Rutgers actually projected to go in the top 3.
Right. So there's a lot of excitement there. It's just now all of a sudden you're going to have like 8 guards on this team. It's a wild world.
It's the process all over again, except with guards this time instead of big men.
Which, you know what? Yeah. I bet you there's a lot of people that would prefer that. Just saying.
Scores.
That's more exciting. Yeah.
This league, I had a moment a couple years ago. I said it on the air. I love Joe. You guys know that. And I was watching a Grizzlies-Warriors game. I think Ja was a rookie. And it was Morant and Curry just going back and forth at each other. And I was like, damn, that looks like a lot more fun than what we have sometimes. All right, let's check our text line. Do you have faith in this big three? I say no because Paul George is a part of the big three, and I just don't have faith in playoff Paul, right? I don't have faith in the insurance policy to Joel Embiid being a guy that's injured just as much. And Daryl Morey, look, he could surprise me. He has surprised me in the past. He has made good moves. But that does not mean that he has some pulse on the NBA and where it's heading. What do we got in the text line this morning, Gunner?
Yeah, we got Joe the Cynic checking in. He's cynical as always, but not the most cynical this morning. He says, I rarely speak in definitives, but as long as the offense runs through Embiid, they're never going to win a ring. He struggles just distributing the ball, and he can't dribble out of trouble. Joe the Cynic.
Well, that's not true.
I don't agree with that.
That's not true, Joe. I love you, Joe. That's not true. His facilitating has gotten so much better the last couple of years. My man was getting triple doubles in games.
I mean, you want to take a shot at his health, go right ahead.
Yeah, the facilitating, that's just wrong. Now, the dribbling, I think he's gotten better at. It was a major problem when he first started, when a guard would come over for help and swipe the ball out. And that's when you see like those games where he has like 8 turnovers, like the Hawks series from years ago. But his facilitating has gotten much better, much better. And that's why the one thing I was hoping for with Paul George, other than his health, was that finally Joel Embiid is a wing that can do some stuff. Like, I know everybody liked to point out that Tobias Harris had a good season and that Tobias Harris was good with the Pistons. Sometimes fit is a major role.
He wasn't good here.
He wasn't good here. Paul George, what he does on paper is a good fit here. In their limited times playing together, it wasn't good, but like, how much can I really base off of this past season? Because Joel Embiid was never right from the get-go. The whole ramp-up period, that baloney. So we'll see. As long as Paul George is actually back. What else we got?
We got David checking in saying, I have more faith in Taijuan Walker somehow coming up with 20 wins this season than I do the Sixers' big three.
20 wins.
Look, I mean, that's where you're at. Like, if you're somebody from the Sixers organization that's listening, just understand that none of this is unfair. None of the stuff that is said about your franchise is unfair. I like to assume that I'm probably one of the bigger Sixers fans here at the station. I'm a loser that watches Quentin Grimes when the rest of the team is literally trying to lose.
That's the equivalent of me watching preseason football.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're the loser when it comes to football. I'm the loser when it comes to the Sixers. This is why we work so well together. But everything that is said about them is fair, and nothing's off base. If somebody says they have no faith, look, if somebody says Joel Embiid stinks, that's off base, right? But if somebody says, I never want to put faith in a guy that can't stay healthy, I can't blame you. Like, for 3 years now, as much of a Joel Embiid defender as I've been, I've never turned anyone away for saying that.
No, that's fair critique.
Absolutely.
But if you're talking about facilitating and this and that, I mean,
yeah, like I think that's
misguided. Yeah.
But like, I don't think it's unfair, and I've been saying this, to say that Daryl Morey is slightly overrated. I'm not saying in this town, I'm saying in league circles, right? Daryl Morey is thought of as like this unbelievable mastermind. I have seen him make ridiculously good moves. Getting Josh Richardson out of here for Seth Curry.
Yeah. How about that one?
That was wild, right? And getting rid of Al Horford and that contract, getting the money off the books, and still getting Danny Green, who was a legitimate piece of this team. Those were some moves that you go, all right, I could see why people think so highly of him. But also just still living off of the James Harden trade from a decade ago doesn't work for me. It just doesn't.
This is a what have you done for me the last 5 minutes business.
And what have you done for me the last 5 years?
Yeah. He's done some good, but
he's done some good.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up next, we'll reset today's topic. We'll check our text line. And as promised, the good, right? Not the Sixers right now. The good, the Philadelphia Phillies, they sweep the Tampa Bay Rays. We'll start the 7 o'clock hour talking about the Fightins. Coming up next, Kincade Salciunas, Andrew DeCecco in for John here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A comeback win for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, only allowed 2 runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run home run from Bryson Stott in the 8th. The Phils completed the comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 43 games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phils head up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola's going to be on the mound tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA draft lottery is approaching this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. If any fans out there had any questions about which core the Sixers are going to be building around, Daryl Morey joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday and had this to say.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
Not much changes coming our way, so it seems. And we're now just 5 days away from the NFL schedule release on May 14th, where we'll find out the road to a repeat for the Birds. We'll keep you updated on any leaks we get with that as well. This update was brought to you by Hand & Stone. This Mother's Day, skip the pretty candles and give her something pretty amazing. Rest and renewal at Hand & Stone, a soothing massage or refreshing facial. So no more mom gifts. Visit handandstone.com today. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Truist Championship, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Vitalico.
Everybody wants to see Aaron Nola. What's he going to do?
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco in for Johnny today. John will be back on Monday. All right, so we started off the show talking Sixers. We'll get into the Phillies in a couple of minutes, who completed the sweep of the Rays last night. I have a Phillies question for you guys as the 7 o'clock hour continues. But we're talking about the Sixers because Daryl Morey joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday and talked about, obviously, the disastrous season and what's next. And he still says that they are going to continue building around this big three of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Paul George. Now, he had the light bulb moment where he realized he needs younger players, more athletic players, which I laugh at because I go back to the 2014-15 Rockets where there was a lot of young and athletic players on that team, the team that got to the Western Conference Finals. There were veterans on that squad, but it wasn't like the biggest key pieces either. Like, if I just went total points on that team, right? It was James Harden, who was in his 5th year. Obviously, he had, my man finished with 2,200 points that year. The next closest was Trevor Ariza with just over 1,000. He literally doubled the second highest scoring player on the team.
I used to really like Trevor Ariza with the Rockets, by the way.
Because he was the spot-up corner three-point shooter, which eventually was taken over by P.J. Tucker. So Trevor Ariza was a vet, but he had a very specific role on the offense of that team. Their third highest scorer was Monte Eunice, the center out of Lithuania's 2nd year. Corey Brewer was the third highest scorer. Patrick Beverley was up there. Then you get to like Dwight Howard because of the lobs and that kind of stuff. But I look at that team, and even the guys that were coming off the bench were young players for them.
Was that by design, or was it just him relatively early in his tenure as a GM, didn't know how to build a championship team yet, so he started from ground zero?
Well, what time? When did he get to the Rockets? He had been with the Rockets for 6 years, so that was his 7th season with the Rockets. So he had learned over time, clearly. And I like Daryl Morey a lot. I think the perception of him is that he's some genius, and he's not.
I don't think that's the perception any longer.
Maybe not. Definitely not here.
Not around here.
He kind of gets the Howie Roseman treatment of, well, if a player's available, he's in on him.
He's going to make some calls.
And all right, but Howie gets the deals done.
Yeah, he doesn't flirt with these deals. He makes sure it happens.
The deals happen, and there's track record to it. Whereas Daryl Morey, he has track record, obviously with his success out west with Houston, but a lot of that was because of a big trade that he made.
And we keep getting further and further removed from those glory days.
That was a long time ago, man. You could text in, you could call in 610-632-0975. Our question regarding this is, do you have any faith that this big three and the leadership of Daryl Morey can still win something? A funny tweet from my man Anthony M. Schmall. He says, the thought of even labeling Paul George as a piece of a big three is an insult to the actual big three players. It's a slap in the face he's not.
I agree.
I get it. Like, when we think of big three, we think of Bron, Wade, and Chris Bosh, right? Like, I understand what you're saying, but it's this team's big three. And to say that Paul George should not be looked at as a member of the big three is wrong. You should look at him, whether you like it or not. I don't like it. But if you're talking, if you are going to play NBA Street and you get 3 players to play with, odds are the 3 players are Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George.
Oh, yeah, that's the facts. Whether or not you like that is an entirely other thing. But, I mean, I think that he said everything I expected him to say. He propped up his player.
Yep.
And I perceived it to be a smokescreen. But we'll have to wait and see. I think that they're going to try and move off of him, kind of like we've seen him execute some of those trades. You mentioned the Danny Green one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you might see him try to do something like that.
You have to. If you're Daryl Morey, you can't just say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run it back. If you run it back with this group, are you really going to expect anything?
I don't think he meant that part. But what else is he really going to say? We're going to make a lot of moves.
Look, he's let's play it. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. It's cut 5, Gunner, and then we'll talk about the Phillies here. Here was Daryl Morey saying that he's committed to their big three.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
That's it. That's it. They're committed to those three. Now, is he saying we're committed contractually as of right now? Maybe. Or is he saying, hey, we didn't get a fair shake at this last year because of all the injuries? To which I will respond with, what else did you expect?
Yeah, I hope it's not the latter.
Right? Like, the Maxey, I get it. You didn't expect Maxey to get hurt. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But the other two, what did you expect? All right. Phillies. Let's have some happy talk here on this Friday morning. Phillies beat the Rays yesterday, 7-6, completing the sweep. And what a way to do it, scoring 3 runs in the 8th after being down 5-1. Then you score a run in the 9th to tie it. You go to extras. You score 2 runs in the top of the 10th. Strom gets the job done in the bottom half of the 10th. Does give up a run, but obviously the ghost runner makes that pretty difficult, which is why it's important to try to tack on more than one in the top half of the inning. And credit to Brandon Marsh, man. Brandon Marsh in the lineup yesterday, 2 for 4, and had the big go-ahead RBI single in the top of the 10th inning. And the Phillies end up getting the win, and they complete the sweep of the Rays. And look, I get it. Weird ballpark, but both teams are playing in it. Like, the Rays are also playing in that ballpark, and they got the job done. And it felt like at one point yesterday, I saw a lot of tweets about this when Tanner Banks was out there and gave up the 3-run shot, that felt like a
gut punch.
But like a give-up relief appearance, right? Like, all right, we've used our arms this series. We've taken the first 2 of this series. John pointed out, was it earlier this week, Gunnar, the Phillies had taken the first 2 games of the series 5 times this year, and they were 1-4 in Game 3.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were like, all right, they're not going to go all out. They're just happy to win the series. I can't believe that would be anybody's mindset.
And Banks, by the way, hasn't been that bad.
He's been horrible. He's been on a nice little run. But the 3-run home run happens, and I saw a lot of people like Connor. Connor tweeted out that it felt like the game was over. And I get it. I kind of had that same feeling. But you keep on watching, and then you see what this offense can do when it's clicking. And so you're starting to see the Phillies put together some good at-bats. You're starting to see them hit the ball more, drive the ball more. But obviously we have to see if this can carry over into a real ballpark. But you know this team's talented enough. And that's what this all goes back to from the very beginning, that this team is talented enough. And as much grousing as we could have done in the month of April, this is why if you ever heard me complain about the Phillies, I never said they weren't a playoff team.
No.
And so you're starting to see that turn a little bit, it seems.
Yeah, I think the big storyline coming out of that game, Andrew, is Brandon Marsh.
Yeah.
Going into Saturday, he was 0 for 31. He hits that double. Last night, he rips that double into left center, went 2 for 4, had the RBI. I think that's huge for his confidence. But to a larger point, I'm really impressed with what the Phillies, or how the Phillies have been playing. Small ball, power, they're grinding out at-bats. This is kind of who they are, and they're kind of starting to find their way and hit their stride a little bit.
Yeah, and there was a lot of question about the change of approach coming into this season and trying to, lower the chase rate and trying to work on more, better at-bats, longer counts. Obviously, Alec Boehm gets benched early on in the season because the guy's still swinging at the first pitch and then slamming his helmet whenever he got out.
Temper tantrum.
And you're starting to see it seem to make a little bit of a turn. Now, Bryce Harper, again, 0 for 4 yesterday, so the average drops to 236. You need him to get going.
Eventually he will.
Even though they scored 7 runs last night, you need him to get going. And to your point, eventually he will. He's not going to finish the season hitting 236. And if he does, he's still going to add 15 home runs to his total, right? This isn't the season that you're going to see out of Bryce Harper from the beginning. So I have another question that I want to discuss more coming up next, but I want the people to chime in on this one as well. It's 610-632-0975. Do you believe the Phillies took that turn? And it wasn't just this past series, right? I know a lot of people. There's going to be the Negadelphian that will point out that it was at the George M. Steinbrenner ballpark, and that's why the bats looked a little bit more alive. They took 2 of 3 against the Diamondbacks in the series before. They took 2 of 3 against the Nationals in the series before. They took 2 of 3 against the Cubs in the series before. So ever since that series where they get swept by the Mets, which, trust me, that has left a sour taste in my mouth. I hate it because I hate the Mets more than any team in all of sports. But you've now won 4 straight series, including a sweep of the Rays yesterday. So do you believe that the Phillies sort of took that turn over the last couple of weeks?
Personally, I do. And I think that's the thing about baseball. It's the ebbs and flows of a season. Sometimes different pieces need to mesh, and you have to settle in. They have a really favorable schedule to finish out May, and I think this is kind of who they are. But they're doing all of this without Bryce Harper really hitting his stride. So I think that should be encouraging if you're looking at it on the pessimistic side.
Okay, so let's continue this discussion at 610-632-0975. Sixers on the table, as we know. Do you still have any faith that the Sixers can win with this big three and the leadership of Daryl Morey? Again, my answer is no, with the caveat that Paul George is a part of this big three. I need something else. And if Daryl Morey is saying he's committed to this big three, then I'm terrified. If he's just doing GM speak, which he might be, I'll see what the move is this offseason. It's going to be a very interesting one for the Sixers. At least I hope. You need to do a whole new facelift of this team. And also, do you believe the Phillies took the turn? It was a disappointing month of April, despite them being above 500, like people like to point out. They weren't playing like a championship baseball team. It's looked a lot better over the last couple of series. Did they take the turn? We'll talk more about that coming up next. Get more of your text messages as well. It is a Championship Friday here on Kincade and Salciunas. Anthony DeCecco in for John here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear from you, so text us at 610-632- Giant of the K today. All right, we'll get to the text messages here in a second, but I want to kind of continue this conversation. Gunner, do you believe the Phillies have taken a turn? Now, we got to be careful, right? We can't do the skies falling every other day and then they're a championship team the next day, right? So you got to try to keep the same energy as much as possible. I believe we're starting to see the turn for a lot of the guys offensively. And that was the biggest thing coming into this season, that, yeah, you have the rotation, but can the bats with this new approach start figuring things out? Now, I'm not going to sit here and believe that Brandon Marsh is going to go 2 for 4 every single day, right? Like, I don't think your center fielder to win a championship is on this roster. But it's also up to all the other guys, the big name guys, the big three of the Phillies, to start playing better baseball. And you're not getting that out of Bryce Harper right now. But do you believe that this team has taken a turn?
I do think they've taken a turn. I think it's going to continue to improve because your MVP is going to inevitably get better. And I just did some number crunching during the break.
Oh, yeah.
Phil's 13-7 in games that Bryson Stott's in the leadoff hole. I think that's been a large part. I know John likes to do Sleepy Rob, but I think that change right there really invigorated this offense so far. And they continue to go out there. Kyle Schwarber's raking no matter where you put him in. Bryce Harper's going to do it. Trey Turner not getting the power numbers, even though I don't think that ball landed, according to Tom McCarthy last night. But he's still hitting 300.
I called that. I said for the second night in a row, Trey's going to get a home run. I was just short.
Literally just short.
Alec Bohm, though, still doing his slapping thing. He's getting on base.
Well, and so here's the thing. Again, keep it 100, right? Like, I think the team has taken a turn. I still think they need to improve in a lot of areas. Like, I don't believe the center fielder is on this roster. I don't believe that like Alec Bohm. I think John and I made a bet before the season started that he was going to all of a sudden hit 20 home runs this year. I was like, no, he's not, dude. Like,
that's never going to happen.
Since when does like a guy that's like in his 7th year of his MLB career all of a sudden become a different hitter?
It's like 35-year-old Paul George staying healthy.
Right. Like, it's just not it's not going to happen. And so, like, they need right-handed pop because Real Muto is no longer providing it for you. I still like Real Muto on this team, right? Like, I understand that double plays drive people nuts. The guy is still a spectacular catcher. But because his bat is going away, and because Alec Bohm does not provide you with pop, nor has he ever provided you with pop, and when he's not hit, like, if there's nobody on base, they're not afraid to make a mistake pitch to him, because what is he going to do? Hurt them with a slap single the other way?
Right.
They don't have that pop from the right side. They need to acquire that. They obviously need to improve their bullpen. I'm not going to all of a sudden jump for joy after a couple of series where the bullpens look better. I can still say that's a problem. You need to improve there. But the team has taken a bit of a turn right now, and I hope that they can start piling up wins, because I know nobody wants to look at the standings early on in the season, especially this early on. You drive yourself crazy. But look, the Braves are still right behind you, and the Mets are still ahead of you. You need to start piling up wins. To your point, Andrew, that they have sort of an easier schedule in the month of May. They need to jump on this.
Yeah, this Guardians series is going to be really fun to watch. That they're a pretty good baseball team.
They are.
So that, besides that, I think it looks really favorable for them. So this is a chance for them, in my opinion, to make some headway.
Right, and they're about to play back in a major league ballpark. So let's see, against the good arms that the Guardians can throw towards you, and in a real major league ballpark, let's see how it plays out. What do we got on the text line, Gunner? It's 610-632-0975 about the Phillies, or, of course, our Eagles discussion, or Sixers discussion, about whether or not you still have any faith in the big three of Embiid, George, and Maxey, because as of right now, that is still your big three, and Daryl Morey as the president of basketball operations.
Well, we got Dave in Mount Laurel checking in on this Phillies conversation. He's not all the way bought in yet. He says, I'll believe in the Phillies that they've taken a turn when they can consistently put up runs and take series from playoff contending teams.
Now, here's the thing. Well, hold on a second. Again, this is when we got to be fair. It's like the Sixers discussion. There is levels of fairness and unfairness. The Phillies are taking series from playoff contending teams. They are. It's been some other disappointing series, but the Diamondbacks are a playoff contending team. You took 2 of 3 of them. The Cubs are going to win their division. You took 2 of 3 against them. You split with the Giants. You beat the Dodgers.
Well, a lot of what I'm hearing kind of reminds me of Randy Quaid in Major League 2, where he's like, they're going to blow it anyway, even after they do something, good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But here's the thing. I get it. The Mets series, I think, was a major blemish that I think it's going to almost change what you view about this Phillies team, because that's the team that knocked you out of the playoffs. And the fact that they showed no life in that series, they were a lifeless ball club, put a sour taste in my mouth. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's clouding a lot of people's judgment. Like, they have been beating playoff teams. They didn't beat the Mets, and they got swept, which obviously was pretty disappointing. What else we got?
Phils or Sixers? What do you want?
Give us the Sixers one, so we
All
don't
right,
lose
let's
that
get one up
conversation.
right here, we got no name on this one, but it says you can't have Joel Embiid as the centerpiece anymore. He's not reliable enough to finish the season or even make it through the playoffs at that. You need a center to build around Maxey and younger guys. Joel is not that piece anymore. That way, we'll see what happens.
Well, all right, so coming up next, I'll speak to that. Because I have said something to John on the air about maybe the next version of Joel Embiid. Literally to that texter's point. I think you can still win with Joel Embiid, but I totally get what that person's saying, and I'll dive deeper into that coming up next because I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. And of course, more Phillies on the table as well at 610-632-0975. I mentioned the big three of the Phillies, so we've been discussing whether or not you can still win with the big three of the Sixers with Embiid and Maxey and Paul George and the leadership of Daryl Morey. I'm going to ask you the exact same question, but for the Phillies. Their big three and the leadership of Dave Dombrowski. It is Kincade and Salciunas, Andrew DeCecco in for Johnny today here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies complete the sweep. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Yes, the Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound, 2 1/5 1/3 innings. Struck out 4, only allowed 2 runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run shot by Bryson Stott in the 8th inning. The Phillies completed that comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 43 games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phillies are headed up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola is going to be on the mound tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA draft lottery is quickly approaching on Monday, this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. If any fans out there had any questions about whether the core that's already here is going to be part of the future, well, Daryl Morey answered that yesterday.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
Sounds like the big three is going to be here to stay, and we're just 5 days away from the NFL draft beginning the NFL draft. The NFL schedule release coming up May 14th, next Wednesday, where we're going to find out the road to repeat for the Birds, so we'll keep you updated with any leaks, any rumors surrounding that. This update was brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection today at groundworks.com. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Truist Championship, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hall of Fame baseball.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Andrew DeCecco in for John today. Now, before I answer that texter about building around Embiid and before we continue talking about the Phillies, I have to address something. Haley Taylor-Simon, who did a great job producing the morning show yesterday, filling in for Gunner, has now said two just horrible things about Mother's Day.
Totally outrageous.
Number one, she asked if she gets to celebrate Mother's Day, being that she is a owner of a cat. To which I said no.
I don't think she went through 9 months of hell, probably, with that cat.
She then came back in this past break and called Mother's Day a fake holiday because she does not get to be celebrated during Mother's Day.
I was appalled. At that comment. She said that it's not a real holiday because I can't be celebrated. Why does it always have to be?
Because you're not a mom, Haley.
Yeah, it's not always about you.
Yeah, hopefully Mrs. Simon's not listening right now. She just tossed out her whole holiday out the window.
Fake holiday. So I hope everybody enjoys their Mother's Day, brunches and festivities on Sunday. But PSA, if you are not a mother of a child, a human, I should say, you do not get to celebrate Mother's Day as if it's you. You can celebrate your mom, but don't
by all means
celebrate yourself because you have a dog or a cat or
not a real
parakeet or a turtle. Like, no, you don't get this. Now, I will say one thing. On the record. All right? On the record. And I said this pre-childbirth, pre-being a father. And I stand by my statement. The first 6 months of life, baby versus puppy, easier with a baby than a puppy.
Wow.
I stand by it.
Coop was good then.
No, no. The thing is, diaper, right? So if the baby eventually pees or poops, it's caught. Until the dog is trained to go outside.
It's a wild card.
It could be on your carpet, your rug, your bed, the crate.
The bed.
The crate. You don't know. Here's the other thing. Oh, baby's crying in the middle of the night. You don't think crate training, trying to get a dog to sleep in a crate, cries? Dealt with it. So and my baby doesn't move for the first 6 months. The pets walk around. They bite things.
But they
gnaw your furniture.
Here's the big question, Andrew, and I think I know the answer. I hope I know the answer. I have this right. You didn't go to Target and get yourself a T-shirt that said #DogDad, did you?
No, I did not do that.
Are you making Haley's point, though?
No, I'm not. No, because there is more to...
I'm with you. I strongly against Dog Dad and all that nonsense.
Post that 6 month, it's there's not even a question. My dog just lays there. And you want to go for a walk? Dog goes for a walk. Hey, buddy, what do you want to eat for breakfast? Yogurt. You give him a yogurt. I don't want yogurt. You just told me you wanted yogurt. So there is a big difference between being a dog mom or a cat mom.
Oh, that's brutal.
Cat mom, you literally do nothing. Absolutely nothing. The cat doesn't even know you exist.
It pains me.
Part.
It pains me to say cat mom, cat dad.
Yeah, no, enough of that. So happy Mother's Day to those of you who have children, either adopted, your own, whatever. If you're raising a human being, you celebrate on Sunday. All right, that texter, last segment, said that he doesn't believe that you can build around Joel Embiid anymore. Do you have the text in front of you just so that you can read it word for word on the air? If not, that's fine. He was basically saying it's time to build around Tyrese Maxey. So I've said this a couple of times on the show. I don't believe Tyrese Maxey is like the guy on a basketball team. I really don't. I think he's a tremendous player, but we have now seen numerous times when he has been asked to be the guy, he's not been able to. He has fallen short. Now, is it hard that your team is built so much through what you do with Joel Embiid that Tyrese Maxey's game's a little bit different when Embiid's off the court? Yeah, of course it's difficult. But I've seen Tyrese Maxey not be able to carry a team to victory on a nightly basis. Every once in a while, sure, he'll go off for 40. That's why he's a good basketball player. But he's not the guy that, if Embiid's gone, they are a playing team. Just saying that right now, and I'll continue to say that. However, I do believe there is a way where Joel Embiid can be the Miami Heat version of Shaq. Still a tremendous player, right? Shaq was dominant with the Miami Heat, but he was not looked upon being the guy. Dwayne Wade was the guy of that basketball team. Do I believe Tyrese Maxey is a future Hall of Famer and arguably the greatest shooting guard in the history of the NBA? No, I don't. But I believe that Tyrese Maxey could maybe start running the offense a little bit more, and Joel Embiid can still do his thing. He'll average, instead of 35 a game, he averages 25 a game.
Where does that ultimately get you, though? Like, is that good enough to win a finals?
If you have the right pieces, you need a guy that can actually hit a three-point shot, which Paul George, during his limited time this year, was a disaster for them, which is why I can't sit here and say, yeah, running it back is a good idea. But if you have the right guy next to you, a guy that can hit a three for you, I think it can go a long way.
But I'm assuming the texture isn't under the assumption that they're going to get the right pieces, and therefore he can't be a centerpiece.
Yeah, and that could be it, right? And that falls on Daryl Morey. But I believe that there is a way to win with Joel Embiid not being the guy, Tyrese Maxey being looked at as the guy, but it's going to have to still be at a level where Joel Embiid is still playing really well. Like, Shaq wasn't bad with the Heat.
No.
I think a lot of people think that Shaq was bad. They won a damn NBA title.
I just feel like the margins for error in that case are, like, so slim, everything would have to go your way. Now, could it happen? Sure. It sounds like a second-round exit at the most to me. Like, if Embiid's the secondary guy, 19 points a game, whatever. Like, can Maxey be that superhero that's going to carry you through four rounds of play?
I think he's a Robin. I don't think he's a Batman.
The year they won the finals, Shaq played 59 games that year. All right, which that's probably going to be what Embiid ends up doing. He averaged 20 points, 9 rebounds. That's not like world-changing numbers, but it was perfect with what Dwayne Wade was doing for them, and of course they had the right pieces around him, with nice role players like Antoine Walker, right? Udonis Haslem was actually still playing for that basketball team.
That's right, yeah.
Not just on the bench for years. All right, another question regarding Big Three. When it comes to the Phillies, do you still believe that the Big Three of Harper, Turner, and I throw in Real Muto because I'm going strictly finance. Those are your 3 highest paid positional players, right? Just like Embiid, George, Maxey. Does that Big Three still scream championship contender to you guys? Because it does for me.
Yeah, it does. But JT is what has me, on the fence a little bit. But I'm going to say yes.
Now I love catchers.
I know you. I know you're a big JT
that was my
guy.
position, right? So I understand that he's not going to be driving in 100 runs, but if the strong suit of this team is their rotation, and you need good defensive catching and everything, he still provides.
Yeah, he's got you. Yeah, no, I think so. That should be good enough to put you right there.
Now, a Big Three in baseball is a lot different than a Big Three in basketball. The Big Three in basketball is literally more than half your team when it comes to the starting lineup. This is only 1/3 of your lineup, but I still think this team can get it done. They just need to start finding some of the other holes that they have. Much like the Sixers need a wing shooter, the Phillies need a right-handed bat.
Like, Bryce Harper is going to wake up soon.
Right.
Trey Turner has been tremendous over the last 15 games. So I think that he's starting to round into form. So the big question that I have with that Big Three in your scenario, Andrew, is JT, because you just wonder about the longevity and if by the end of the season, if they're not able to monitor the wear and tear, if he's going to kind of sputter out.
Right, and the wear and tear last year, they literally had him have a surgery in the middle of the season because they were up so big that they were kind of like, all right, we'll see. I mean, look, there's a lot of wear and tear discussions with this team. I've mentioned the bullpen and the usage. Like, it's something to keep an eye on. Absolutely. All right, coming up next. Of course, you can continue to text in. You can call in. The phones are back at 610-632-0975. I was not in yesterday, Andrew, so I could not tell the world about how happy I am with what the Eagles rightfully did.
I can't wait to hear how emphatic you are with the news.
Dallas Goedert is back, baby. It's Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
What is it about?
from our man Tristan Homan. Tomorrow is Mother's Day for all pet moms out there. There's literally a Pet Mother's Day because we create holidays left and right just to appease anybody. It's the second Saturday in May, so that'll be tomorrow. Haley responds saying, all the guys owe me an apology now. No, it's tomorrow. It's not Mother's Day. Mother's Day is Sunday. So, no, I don't owe you an apology. And apparently our YouTube chat is all on Team Haley here. In defense of Haley, we appreciate everybody that watches on YouTube and comments and everything.
It's okay to be wrong. We're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for the National Andrew Day now, since everybody else gets a day.
Exactly, man. There is a St. Andrew's Day, but we're I don't think we're in sainthood just yet.
Not yet.
One day.
Football guy Andrew National Day.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. But that's the thing. We create holidays just to appease everybody at this point. So now we got to have a World Pet Mom Day.
We got Jay checking in on the text line saying, quote, happy 4th of July to everyone except HTS out there because it's the country's birthday, but not her birthday. That's how she sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great text message.
Great job, Jay. I appreciate it.
That's outstanding. Look, it might not have the allure of Mother's Day, but you have your own day.
Yeah, you have your own day. So
do whatever you do. Yeah.
Andrew goes during the break. Go ahead, put your little crown on your cat and then take a selfie with it.
Take a selfie, go live, do whatever you got to do. Put sunglasses on your cat. Have a great day. But Sunday is Mother's Day.
I told him to share a can of tuna together, right? out of the cat bowl. Lick out of the cat bowl.
Yeah, like the Beauty and the Tramp. Or whatever the hell it's called.
The Lady and the Tramp.
The Lady and the Tramp.
Beauty and the Beast, Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, listen, I love my Disney.
All right. The Eagles made the right decision. Dallas Goedert is back. As you have been following along my journey of my potential disappointment, devastation.
You didn't go live on Instagram, though. So day 1, day 2, day 3.
I did not, no. I save it for the show, damn it. I'm no longer borderline devastated because Dallas Goedert is back. I expected that to happen after they did not draft a tight end. I don't know what else they would have done. I know you've mentioned tight ends that they could have traded for. I could not for the life of me have seen Grant Calcaterra as tight end 1. And I know John gave us all the numbers in the world that he could have given you. The team disagreed with those numbers. The team realized that Dallas Goedert is best. It's best to have Dallas Goedert back. Now, did they want him to pay him the money that he was owed? No, they didn't, clearly, which is why they reworked this deal. He's getting a little bit more guaranteed money, but he's losing a little bit.
$1 million in incentives.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's got $10 million in cash.
Right. And so he's back. And Dallas Goedert is a big part of this offense. Dallas Goedert is a big part of this team that has now been to 2 Super Bowls and has won one. This past playoff run, people like to point out the running stats that when he was out, Saquon was still averaging over 100 yards a game. I understand it. I'm telling you right now, if Dallas Goedert is not on this team, they do not win that playoff game against the Packers. That 100%. Game where the offense was sputtering all day, despite how confident I felt at halftime, you needed that Dallas Goedert touchdown when he pushed the cornerback 3 times. He did 3 stiff arms on one guy, disrespectfully. I loved it.
Yeah, it was
and then the Rams game, he was a huge part of it. And that was a game that came down to the wire. If you do not have Dallas Goedert on this football team, the Eagles are not Super Bowl champions this past year. And I feel very comfortable saying that.
Absolutely. So you were one of the first people that I thought of.
Thank you.
When that happened. And it was you, me, and Sylvana Kelleher were all on this side of Dallas Goedert, knowing that Grant Calcaterra was largely an unknown, and I would not have been comfortable seeing the Eagles move forward with Grant Calcaterra being that starting tight end, whereas John, Ricky, and Connor believe that, the offense is good enough they could move forward with Grant Calcaterra.
Really?
So he is so immensely critical to what the Eagles do on offense.
Yep.
The offense that they run, you can't just have a moderately productive tight end. You have to have someone who can work the middle of the field, who can break tackles, who can be an effective red zone presence, can be an impact in the passing game and the running game. He can do all of those things. And he doesn't get enough credit for what he's able to do against the run, blocking, and everything like that. But he also has the trust of Jalen Hurts. He's his security blanket, and the passing game runs through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. I can't overstate how critical he is to the Eagles' offense.
And John said something earlier this week, and I'm sorry to bring up John when he's not here, but he talked about he was one of the least double-team tight ends in the NFL last year. Well, yeah. They have to worry about A.J. They have to worry about Devontae Smith. And then you have to stack the box against Saquon Barkley. How many guys on the field do you want? Like,
and you need a guy on Jalen Hurts a lot of the time.
Right, exactly. So of course you can't double team a lot of the guys, including Dallas Goedert. Now maybe the offensive production wasn't necessarily there at times, and I get it. That's kind of been his career. Like I do believe Dallas Goedert, if he doesn't get drafted by the Eagles, he may have more numbers somewhere else, depending on the situation.
If he's able to stay healthy, that's been the big hiccup with him.
But even when he's been healthy, there have been games. How many weeks have we said this is the Dallas Goedert game, and then he'd finish with one catch for like 12 yards?
I said like 7 times last year.
But when they do turn to him, he is immensely talented, and it's hard to stop him because he is such a great hands tight end and a physical beast, and he's such a big part of this offense that I don't know how people. It almost felt like people were talking themselves into being okay with him leaving. Mm-hmm. Whereas I went from the get-go, no, this would be a bad thing for the Eagles, especially because they didn't draft his replacement, and they didn't draft his replacement last year. If they had a tight end last year in the 2024 NFL draft, I would have been more open to him leaving because they did that with Ertz. They did that with Selleck, right? They drafted the replacement, and they didn't replace him in his rookie year. They didn't have anybody to replace Dallas Goedert going into this season, and that's not something that the Eagles do. I know the Eagles have gone against the norm recently, drafting a linebacker in the first round this year, drafting a corner with their first 2 picks last year. But there are some staples, like we talk about the offensive line and the defensive line. Tight end has been a staple of the Philadelphia Eagles for my entire life.
Absolutely.
Chad Lewis, L.J. Smith, even though that was a little disappointing.
Rucker, yeah.
But Chad Lewis, L.J. Smith, Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. 5 tight ends over my 31 years on this planet.
I actually think that Dallas Goedert's one of the more underutilized tight ends in the NFL. And one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He'd be a much more household name if he was utilized like a George Kittle, perhaps.
Right.
But his ability to work the seams, he's lethal after the catch. He's good against good in the running game. I just think that he should not be taken for granted. There are some who believe that it's a luxury that the Eagles have a player of that caliber. I think it's a necessity that they have a player like that because of what he does to elevate Jalen Hurts, because of what he does to impact the running game, and his ability to work the middle of the field, man. That allows the offense to operate as it's intended to.
I think you're right about the taking it for granted, right? Like, I watched DeAndre Swift run for over 1,000 yards, right? I think there could be any running back could probably rush for 1,000 yards on this football team with the attention that is spent on Hurts, the wide receivers, and, of course, the offensive line being so dominant. But you saw the level of DeAndre Swift to Saquon.
Yeah.
You would see the level of Dallas Goedert to maybe a Grant Calcaterra. Sure, you're going to win football. I'm not going to say they would have lost every game.
It's a talented offense without Goedert, but what we've seen what it is with Goedert.
A Super Bowl champion. Like, they won the Super Bowl. And we were like, it's okay if he goes. I'm worried about the cap hit.
And by the way, he was tremendous in the Super Bowl.
Yes, he was.
And in 57, he was really clutch too. But
people seemed very comfortable with him moving on. I'm just glad the right decision was made for both parties, by the way, because Dallas Goedert, the market wasn't there for you. The right decision was made for both parties. All right, coming up next. Now, speaking of Goedert, we will obviously reset the show. We'll give you your keyword for the next chance to win $1,000. But there is still something that I think they missed in the draft, and that's drafting his future replacement. What do they do after 2025? I know that's a year from now, but what do they do after this season? We'll discuss that as well. Andrew DeCecco in for John Kincade today here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A comeback win in Tampa. I'm Brandon Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, only allowed 2 runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run home run in the 8th by Bryson Stott. The Phils completed the comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 43 games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phils head up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola is going to be on the mound for Game 1 tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA Draft Lottery is approaching this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. And if any fans out there had any questions about whether the Sixers are going to keep their core intact or not, Daryl Morey answered that while appearing on the Mike Missanelli show yesterday.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
So it does not look like any of those guys are going to go. And we're just 5 days away from the NFL schedule release on May 14th. We're going to find out the road to a repeat for the the birds. This update was brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the truest championship. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still hear all your favorite...
at 8 o'clock. Good morning to John Kincade, who was listening last segment. Look, man, it's okay. Sometimes you're on the wrong side of history. That's all right. It's good to have Dallas Goedert back, man. Now, I didn't.
Once again, congratulations to the Kincade household.
Which, in case you didn't hear, we did that at the very start of the show. I was out with a sick kid. Oh, well, you weren't working yesterday either. I'm guessing John was happy yesterday.
No, I heard him talking about how they don't miss him. He's missed 17 games. They're actually better without Dallas Goedert in those 17 games.
Oh, so, I didn't hear that part.
Wait, this was yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday, yep.
I thought he'd be happy because they reworked the deal and he's not getting paid as much.
I'm sure he's happy he's back, but he was kind of indifferent about Dallas Goedert being on this team or not.
Wow, see, I'm thrilled. I was over the moon Wednesday when I was driving home and I heard the news on the Mike Missanelli show. It's best for both parties. And it can be true for both parties. Like, Dallas Goedert, the market was not there. And to just say the league told you what they think about Dallas Goedert is not entirely true. Dallas Goedert probably had a certain price tag that he wanted to get, and the league wouldn't do that. But if the Eagles just outright released him, he's on a team in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. I mean, obviously, hurting him a little bit is that he's 30 years old and injury prone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you look at the impact that he has in both facets of the game on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, it's night and day compared to the other options who are behind him. And let me just go through the names again, who would have been next in line if Dallas Goedert's not there. Grant Calcaterra, who last season had a career-high 24 catches, extremely deficient in the blocking department.
Yes.
Harrison Bryant, who they signed as a free agent, he's been in the league for about 4 seasons, and I don't think he has 1,000 yards combined, nor does Kylan Granson, who they signed as a free agent as well. They're good complementary pieces, but not starting tight ends.
No, and there's levels to that. And so I feel very, very happy that Dallas Goedert is back. Now, I'll ask you, before we get to the key word, what do you do after this season? Because here's the deal. It's great and all that they got him back. I'm thrilled. I think they had to after they did not draft his replacement. They still didn't draft his replacement. So that means next year you're probably going with a rookie tight end. Or they make a trade for somebody. But again, over the last couple of tight end ones in the Philadelphia Eagles, they haven't done that. They've been drafting their guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't go the route of trading for somebody because like a Michael Mayer, he's okay, but he's not going. You don't know what he's going to be. Right. The Eagles have proven that they're going to draft that successor and develop them and have them be an 8 or 9 year player for them.
Yeah, like that's what they do. It's been, as much as we talk about the trenches, O-line, D-line, tight end has been a staple for this football team.
Stability
for 20 plus years.
A pillar of stability.
Absolutely.
And there's a guy to keep an eye on next year, coming out of Vanderbilt, Eli Stowers.
You're already working on your big board?
Checo, I want to ask you this.
Yeah, what's up?
Does that pigeonhole them in the draft next year? Like Howie Roseman's able to maneuver because a lot of people don't know which way he's going to go. If they need to get a tight end, what does that do for them? Trades, otherwise, are people going to jump ahead of them for this kid?
No, you're right, Brennan. To a degree, it would. But I would also say that Dallas Goedert is signed at least through 2025. There's always the chance that they are able to negotiate and keep him around even longer.
Right, and that could be a possibility as well. All right, you're listening to 97.5, The Fanatic, WPEN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. DeCecco, you want to handle this business? You want to give out some cash? Go for it, Gunner.
The Fanatic signing bonus.
What do we got?
All right, it's time for the Fanatic signing bonus. Your chance to win $1,000. Contest keyword is share, spelled SHARE. You have until 25 minutes after the hour to enter it on the Fanatic mobile app or at 975thefanatic.com. Or you can text it to the special contest short code 45911. One random entry wins $1,000 in this company-wide contest. Each winner gets a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Contest rules at 975thefanatic.com. The Fanatic signing bonus is sponsored by Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia, voted best casino in PA by Casino Player Magazine. 5 chances to win each weekday, 8 and 10 a.m., 12 noon, 3 and 5 p.m. Once again, the contest keyword is share, spelled SHARE.
Sharing is caring. Good job. All right, real quick, before we get back to our text messages and our sports-related topics. One more thing on this Mother's Day thing, because we have people believing that if you own a pet, you celebrate Mother's Day.
That's pure fiction.
On Sunday. I think that's despicable.
I find that to be repugnant.
Stealing
actually.
Mother's Day from the moms is just a crime.
Horrible. Now, I have a question for you guys. I think I do something weird, which was nothing new. On my birthday, every year, I celebrate my mom more than myself. She's the one that did the work. The birthday, even though it's the day you are born, so you should celebrate it, right? Like when you turn 21, go get wasted. Like, I get it. But like, to me, it's more of a celebration to the parents.
See, that's a mature way of looking at
Right?
it. That's a selfless way. Now, let me ask you, do you spend the day with your mother?
It depends. I mean, like, I like to see them on my birthday. Yeah.
I see my mom. I visit my mom
I'll
every year.
hug my mom, and you could ask her. I say, thanks for giving birth to me. Like, and I'm not a big birthday guy to begin with, right? Like, to me, like, Christy every year, what do you want to do for your birthday? I'm like, wings, smoke, like.
You're low key, yeah.
Like there's very little things that I really want to do. Take the kid. Take the kid away for a few hours, right? Like, I'm a very low key guy. I don't do the whole it's the big 2-7, like,
request
it's the
off,
big 32, like whatever.
Now, are you the same way on Father's Day then? Like, is that all about just your dad, or do you like embrace it now that you're a dad?
I embrace the first one, but I still like to try to, like, I would like to hang out with my dad. Right, even though I am a father, I like to hang out with my dad, so I try to make it where like all three of us are together or something like that with Coop.
See, I think that's awesome.
Well, he also doesn't know. Like, he's 3. He doesn't know what Father's Day is. So I celebrate my parents on my birthday.
I actually will spend my birthdays with my mom. I'll go and visit my mom too. So if you're weird, then I'm just as weird.
But I think there are people that don't do that.
Because it's not always about us. That's the way that we look at it. We're selfless.
Damn right we are, Andrew. Damn right we are. All right, what do we have on the text line this morning, Gunner? Our 2 topics. Well, the Phillies topic is, do you think they've made that turn? Because I know a lot of people are very iffy with this Phillies team. They've now won 4 straight series following getting swept by the Mets, and I think that's still left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But they've been winning baseball games, and they sweep the Rays yesterday. And of course, the Sixers, that's where we started. After hearing Daryl Morey on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday, do you have any faith that this big 3, he says they are still committed to Embiid, George, and Maxey. Do you believe this big 3 and Daryl Morey himself can still win something? Just so you guys know, around 8:25, I'm going to roll through like a bunch of clips. We used to do our Monday morning radio host segment after Eagles games where we would play a bunch of clips from Nick Sirianni and we would do quick reaction to it. We'll do the same thing around 8:25 with this Daryl Morey interview with the Mike Missanelli show. But what are the people saying about any of our topics so far this morning, Gunner?
No name on this guy from the 609. He says the Embiid era in the Sixers as the lead guy is over. His knees are shot. They're not going to get any better. PG ain't getting any younger. I love Maxey, but he's not the guy. It's over. At this point, the longer they hold on and believe that Embiid can lead them to a victory, the longer they're delaying the inevitable. It's time to move on.
Which is why I keep on doing the whole Shaq Miami Heat version of Joel Embiid. And oh, by the way, he'll do more than Shaq in terms of what his offense can do more. Right? I'm not saying he's Shaquille O'Neal, but he can obviously step outside. He can play from the block. He can do so many things for this team. But maybe the constant every possession ball in his hands, you take that away a little bit, and maybe that conserves him a little bit for down the road. Obviously, one fall down, one tweak of the knee, and we're back to the same story every single year, which is
it's a dangerous game to play, though.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But I'm just hoping that because I don't think they will move him, nor can they move him. Well, they can. You're just not going to get much for it. I think if he just takes a little bit of a lesser role, and he'll still have his nights where he drops 40, but let Maxey have his nights too. And let them work together. You just need more from Paul George.
Where does that stack up, though? Like, in that scenario, do they beat the Knicks? In my mind, they don't beat the Celtics. Do they beat even the Cavaliers or the Pacers?
Well,
in
that's
that
when it comes down to everybody else that's on the team, right? Like, if you have a legitimate spot-up corner three-point shooter, which they tried forcing Tobias into, that wasn't his game. That's why they brought in P.J. Tucker, but he was 900 years old, and he couldn't do it anymore. Like, you need to still have the right piece. I don't think you need to be a big three anymore. Like, I don't think the whole big three NBA matters anymore. You need to have, like, look at the Pacers. Like, is anybody calling Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam a big two? Like, no. But they complement each other very well. Just like I believe Maxey and Embiid complement each other very well. Just like J.J. Redick and Embiid complemented each other very well. I know J.J. Redick wasn't the first option, but I think he was their second leading scorer that season, if I'm not mistaken.
You might be right about that.
And
as odd as it is to sound, I think he was their second leading scorer.
And that's because just the way it worked with him and Joel Embiid. So you can make it work. You just have to have the right pieces around them as well.
But I don't have the confidence that Daryl Morey is going to be able to get the right pieces in place. That's the conundrum.
Right. And
all it takes is, like you said, a tweak of the knee, and all of a sudden the season's in the can. I don't know that. I don't know that they have the answers for it.
Yeah, and we had to follow a very busy offseason, what should be a very busy offseason, where they do whatever they can to try to get younger. You can text the show at 610-632-0975. You can call in as well, believe it or not. Today's headlines with Brendan Gunn. That comes your way next on this Championship Friday here of Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Connor Thomas.
Here's the thing with Aaron Nola.
Aesthetically. 8:11 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I hope you have a nice, safe drive into work today. For those of you who still commute to work on Fridays, I feel like that doesn't happen anymore, which I don't mind because that means there's less people on the roads on the way home. So it's a beautiful thing. By the way, let's check out the deal of the week. This is in your neighborhood, Andrew. I didn't realize that. Well, I guess I did know that you're in the Westchester area.
Absolutely. So check out the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Get a $50 pass to Treehouse World in Westchester for just $25. Zip line, climb, and explore for half price. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals.
I could see you being a tree line guy, a zip line guy.
Maybe in my more spry days when I was 25.
I could see you. Were you a tree climber back in the day?
Yeah, I explored.
I was not a tree climber.
I was an adventurous young man. Now I'm just old and weathered.
When being the fat kid growing up and little upper body strength,
couldn't climb trees.
It was.
But you can now.
I can climb a tree now, but
you can now, and I can't.
I'm not doing that in my adulthood. Oh man, I'm not a convict. What am I gonna do? Try to hide in a tree somewhere?
Go to Treehouse World. We got a great deal here. The deal of the week, Andrew.
It is a great deal.
Could have got a great view of the birds parade.
I could have got a great view of the birds parade. You're right there. The only thing I was pretty good at when I was younger was the hopping of the fence because I just went full steam ahead, and then the body weight kind of helped you roll over.
I'm just thankful you didn't pull a J.R. Reed.
I remember that.
Thankfully.
J.R. Reed, dude. I remember when he got a kick return for a touchdown. I was like, dude, this guy's the next great one. I remember. I was like, oh my God, Dad, who's this J.R. Reed guy? Awesome. J.R. Reed, what a pull.
South Florida.
Damn right. All right, it's time now for today's headlines with the one and only Brendan Gunn.
Today's headlines with the one and only Brendan Gunn.
Yes.
Brought to us by
the one and only Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com. And the NBA playoffs are going around. There's been some great series so far. And so far, it looks like a lot of the away teams are taking the stand. Much to the dismay of Paul Pierce, who made a bet on Fox Sports the other day, and he came through with it yesterday. Here's the bet he made on air, and then there's him halfway through paying off that bet.
Lose game 2 at home. I promise you, Joe, I'm walking here tomorrow. I'm walking here.
Why you got to do that?
Wait a minute. I'm walking here 15 miles.
One day later.
This is crazy, dog. I can't believe this. Sea's got me out here like this, bro. I'm sweating. So I'm about 4 miles in right now. So I think I got another 16 miles. All right, I keep on updated. I'm a man of my word, though.
If you make that bet, are you paying it off, or are you just pretending people didn't
No,
hear it?
absolutely.
You got to make good on your bet.
I give him a ton of respect for doing it. A ton of respect.
Standing on business, man.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And look, I mean, he didn't need the wheelchair because he didn't poop himself, right? Like he did in that basketball game that one year.
So that's a plus.
That's a plus. But no, I respect him going out on a limb because these hot take shows, right? They do a lot of screaming, right? Oh, I get this. This is what's going to happen. I bet you this. I bet you that. Do you think Nick Wright has ever paid off a bet for any of his ridiculous takes?
No, absolutely
and
not.
That's from the same network. So you know what? I hope Paul Pierce sets a certain standard over there.
Yeah, much respect for them.
I give them a lot of credit. Shady has disappointed me.
I know.
Shady, there was somebody got him on social media a couple of weeks ago. He was doing the whole, I can't believe anybody would talk poorly about Jalen Hurts, blah, blah, blah. And somebody did is this you? And it was him after the Packers game, the playoff game. If Tanner McKee was starting for the Eagles, they would have scored more points, blah, blah, blah. You can't.
That whole
trash.
You can't continuously flip-flop.
Those whole shows, you can just say whatever you want. So, yeah, I do give credit to Paul Pierce. A little 1A to this. Are his Celtics done now? The Pope is a Villanova graduate.
No,
I think the Knicks may be ordained.
I know it was a big day for you yesterday.
I saw your tweets
with the Pope. There was way too many Pope tweets yesterday from the Philadelphia area. It jumped the shark at some point.
I almost had to mute the word Pope.
Yeah, there was just everybody was making the same 6 jokes about the Knicks and Villanova and all that kind of stuff.
They're gonna win it all. But
after a while, I was like, all right.
Moving on, it makes me sick that I got 2 guys from the Boston sports area in the headlines today. But Tom Brady was on Impulsive by Logan Paul the other day, and he talked about the final 2 drives of that 28-3 comeback. And he might have been a little dinged up.
I was exhausted. I took a pretty big shot on our last drive. I got hit in the head pretty good. And I was on autopilot from the last drive in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Like, there were 2 drives were really foggy. And I remember after that game, I was just exhausted.
Now, does that make it more impressive, or is Tom Brady pulling the flu game kind of thing where he just had food poisoning and it's not as bad as he's making it out
I'll
to be?
say this. Every player probably plays with some level of concussion at points during the season, despite all of the research that's been done and despite the attention. Like, Jalen Hurts did he go back into the game?
He tried to against the Commanders.
But he was about to play again, and then they had to tell him to stop again.
Yeah, he put his helmet back on the sideline. Yeah, they took it away.
I think just because they've made more of an emphasis on trying to stop concussions, or if a guy gets dinged up, making him sit out of play. You imagine guys are fuzzy all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when you're having that kind of brutal contact, like it's going to happen. So I believe the story. Just how bad it was, I don't know. Only he could tell us.
We don't know about the severity of it. I mean, I give him props for doing that. And if you're a Falcons fan, you can't feel too good about that.
No, you're probably who's the backup? Do you think? Who was the backup? Was it Brissett?
I think at that point it might have been Hoyer.
It wasn't Rohan Davey. No, that was back in the day, NFL Europe.
Was it Brian Hoyer? And it was Super Bowl.
I gotta pull this
Super
up.
Bowl 51, 2016, 2017.
It might have been Jacoby Brissett.
That's my guess. What year?
2016, 2017, Super Bowl 51.
All right, let's see here. The New England Patriots, they went 14-2 that year. My God, that was a dynasty. Oh, it was Jimmy G and Brissett. So Jimmy G was the backup, and so was Jacoby Brissett. How about that? All right, anything else?
I'll wrap it up with a replay real quick.
Do you have any faith that this big 3 of Embiid and Paul George and Maxey and the leadership of Daryl Morey can win something?
Now, if the answer to that question is no, by you, by the Checo, by anybody out there, how do the Sixers even get out of that?
Look, that's a
loaded question. It's a great question.
It's Daryl Morey finally having the light bulb go off that he needs to get younger and more athletic. But the thing is, like, that means you have to hit on all these things. Right? Like,
I mean, I want a lot of things too. I want to date Scarlett Johansson. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
hey, you got a shot. I'd be your wingman for that. But, like, that's the thing. Like, it's great. Like, I understood his reasoning of wanting veteran players, right? Like, I understood it. But it's within reason. Like, Reggie Jackson and Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry all pushing, or if not already 40.
Yeah, you got to find a way to move off of Paul George, I think. That should be the first piece.
Yeah, like a veteran could be 7 years in the league, not 15.
No.
Like, these guys were ancient.
Yeah, it's like the extreme. He took it too far.
Yeah, he took it way too far. And I understand some of it, but let's see. Kyle Lowry, last year was his 18th season. Eric Gordon, his 16th. Paul George is 14th. Andre Drummond is 12th. Kelly Oubre is 9th. He's about to play in his 10th season in the NBA. Man. All right, coming up next, as we mentioned, we'll go through a bunch of the clips again. And we would love to hear from you on the question of today. Do you have any faith that this big 3 in the leadership of Daryl Morey can still win something? Text in, call in, 610-632-0975. We'll replay a lot of the clips from Daryl Morey, who joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. Coming up next, it's Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The second sweep of the year for the Phils. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, only allowed 2 runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run home run from Bryson Stott in the 8th. The Phils completed the comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber also extended his on-base streak to 43 games consecutively. The road trip continues this weekend for the Phils as they're headed up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola's on the mound tonight for Game 1. First pitch is tonight at 7:10. The NBA Draft Lottery is approaching this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. And if any fans out there had any questions about the Sixers core going forward, Daryl Morey answered them while appearing on the Mike Missanelli show yesterday.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
So, yeah, it sounds like the big three, or whatever three you consider them at this point, are here to stay. And we're just 5 days away from the NFL schedule release this coming Wednesday at May 14th, where we're going to find out the road to repeat for the Birds, so we'll keep you updated on that leading up to next Wednesday. This update was brought to you by the Delaware County Job Fair. Hundreds of job titles, one big opportunity. Join the Delaware County Job Fair May 13th at Subaru Park. Sign up at the Crozier page at pacareerlinkdelco.org. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Truist Championship, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic.
Morey, president of basketball operations for your team, your town, your Philadelphia 76ers, was on with Mike Missanelli yesterday. And there were a lot of things that were said that I just kind of was left feeling disappointed. Mike was tremendous. Daryl, not so much. And I said it to you guys earlier. I don't like that a lot of the answers were what I already heard in press conferences and other articles. Like he prepared his answers.
Yeah. And he went to the resume.
Yeah. And that's when you know your back's up against the wall, is when you start flowing out the resume out there. And I get it, but sometimes the trump card doesn't work. Like, all right, you've had a lot of successful seasons. It's not hard to get into the playoffs in the NBA. 8 teams on both sides make it. Like it's more than half of the league gets in the playoffs. It's not that hard. Especially now with the play-in, like you could literally be a 10th seed and win 2 games and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, so don't hurt yourself, pat yourself on the back there.
Yeah. Now, obviously he hit on the James Harden thing, but that was a decade ago. More than that. So let's play a couple of the clips. Let's run through these here. And we'll skip cut 5 because of how short it was, but basically Mike asked Daryl if he's still committed to, the big 3, and he said yes. So Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. So we're going off of his word here when it comes to today's conversation. And our topic for you to answer at 610-632-0975 is whether or not you still have the faith in this big 3 and Daryl Morey to win a championship. Because that's what it's all about. It's not winning a few games, not getting to the playoffs. Enough of getting to the playoffs. It's about winning a damn championship. Here was Daryl Morey talking about season 1 of Paul George.
Obviously wasn't his best year. He would come out and say that himself. I think he maybe did that. We believe he'll bounce back. He was an elite defender. Offensively, he was brought in to be part of a unit with elite play on the wing. Defensively, space the floor on offense with Joel and Tyrese, and we believe that can still work. Obviously, we haven't really had much of a look at that. Even when they were healthy, certain guys would leave the game, or Joel was not 100% where he needed to be, so we have not seen that at this point.
All right, so why do you expect it to be different? Like, Embiid leaves games. Embiid gets hurt. And so your insurance policy, because they needed to acquire another star, like Daryl was not wrong in doing that. It's just you picked the wrong guy. You picked a guy who played 48 games, 54 games, 31 games, 56 games, and then magically, the year his contract's up, his contract year, he plays 74 games. Magically. It's like he needed to try to play all those games to show that he was still worth of a max contract. And you give it to him, and he plays 41 games for you last season. And it's the same nonsense I heard with Brett Brown and Doc Rivers. Well, we didn't have enough time to really show it. That's why come playoff time we weren't ready. It's going to be the same thing next year.
Dude, I'm so sick of hearing these max contract players with the excuse that he was an elite defender. Like, you know who else was an elite defender? Like Patrick Beverley for 3/4 of the price, the 1/4 of the price. Like, I heard the same excuse last year with Tobias. Yeah, he shut down Jason Tatum in the postseason. Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, willing, he's gritty.
You can get elite defense from Matisse Thybulle. Yeah. Like, not the star that you're supposed to build around in the big 3.
Matisse Thybulle's defense overrated. I'll continue to say it. Just because you can swat balls from behind doesn't mean you should continuously get beat off the dribble. Hey, just saying. Same with Rocco.
I like Rocco, though.
Here's the problem with Paul George. He shoots 35% from 3 last year. He's a career 38% three-point shooter. Before that, and that's career where he started off as not the best three-point shooter. Later years, he's become a 40+% three-point shooter. And from a basketball standpoint, it should work. But it's not just about X's and O's. It's about availability.
And fit.
And this guy did not work last year. And I get it. They didn't have enough time to really be able to come to that determination. But tell me the year you're going to have time.
And I think, well, I also think that at the top of the list this offseason has to be finding a way to move off of Paul George. Somehow, some way. He's done it before.
Yes.
You talk about the return for Seth Curry, bringing Seth Curry to Philadelphia. You talk about moving off of Danny Green. He's done it before.
Yes. The Al Horford trade for Danny Green was masterful. You got rid of all this money. Now, look, I get it. The guy's still winning with the Celtics, but he went to the Thunder and did nothing. And so it was a masterful trade. But I don't know who's clamoring for Paul George right now. All right, continued. Here's Daryl Morey talking about how, wow, brain blast, they didn't have enough youth last year.
Obviously, we came in with the third best odds to win the title last year in Vegas. And, my thinking was there as well, was how do I get this group healthy and into the playoffs? How do I have playoff-level players? And generally, those are players with playoff experience, ones that sort of round out, can shoot, things like that. What I did not do well was make sure we have the youth and athleticism to get through the regular season and put us in that position. And that's something we will do next year.
And the problem is all that youth and athleticism, you've had chances to build up youthful players, but you trade them all away. Like Isaiah Joe, for whatever reason, they gave up on Isaiah Joe because they tried turning him into a point guard. It's not his game. Just like Furkan Korkmaz, that wasn't his game. Not that I was clamoring for Furkan Korkmaz, but they tried forcing guys into situations that just didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, it feels like being a Sixers fan is like living in the Matrix. It really does. I mean, just nothing really changes. It's kind of hard to see any clarity.
And we'll see guys like Jared Butler and Quentin Grimes, these younger players, Justin Edwards, they're younger players, and hopefully they can turn into something. But I saw them play at their best when they were the only ones playing. It's not going to be the offense is not going through Quentin Grimes.
No,
the offense is going to go through Joel Embiid. So how will he be able to adapt well?
But how confident are you that they can let's say trade Paul George and bring in somebody like they did with Danny Green, or bring in somebody like they did with Seth Curry? Do you think that's realistic?
I think it's a possibility, but it's going to be for another older player. It's going to be
the money has to match.
Yeah, it's not like you're not trading Paul George for a 25-year-old.
They don't have to be 35 like Paul George is.
Well, it might be. Kevin Durant's going to be a possibility, right? And look, I'll take him in a heartbeat.
How many teams out there think they can win with a Paul George added to their team for 4 more years?
Right.
How many teams think he's the missing piece?
It's going to be a team that maybe I'm not saying Houston, but it's going to be like a young team that might need an added piece or two, and you still have the financial flexibility, like the Thunder. Right, the Thunder are a team with financial flexibility. If they lose this series to the Nuggets back-to-back years where they're the 1 seed and they fall in the second round of the playoffs, they're going to have to look for maybe some older player to be a part of it. But is Paul George that answer? That doesn't scream Paul George.
Paul George also went out of OKC pretty on rough terms back then in that exact example. But, I mean, maybe we're too close to it, but do people around the league still look at Paul George as an elite basketball player you're going to pay max money to for 4 years?
Somebody will talk themselves into it.
Certainly not now. They don't feel that way. How can you?
I don't think so. We'll play one more. Let's go to cut 7 here, Gunner. Daryl Morey, this is when your back's up against the wall a little bit and you drop the resume.
I mean, this first losing season I've ever had, more deep playoff runs than pretty much any executive in league history. I've never been to the lottery. That's, probably because we only win. So I'm pretty good at the winning thing.
All right. Well, fair or unfair, I get it. You played in a conference that had the Golden State Warriors. You've never been to the lottery, but you've never been to the NBA Finals.
He forgot to leave that part out.
That's the thing. I get it. Maybe a little unfair because you played against the Warriors, who were a freaking dynasty. I understand, but I'm sorry. I've seen dynasties fall.
How many conference finals has he been to?
I think it was just the one with Houston, right?
So you can't really use the Warriors excuse, really, right? There's other teams you can get there at least to the conference finals.
Yeah, and to just say I've never had a losing season before, all right, well, how many super winning seasons have you had? 2 conference finals appearances, by the way. The second one was 17-18. I think that one was the one with Chris Paul, maybe? Because the first one didn't. Let's see here. The second one.
Is that the one where they had the big lead, choked it away?
Yeah. Harden, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, who wasn't 30 years old yet. Clint Capella was a couple years into the NBA.
Well, it could have just been Scott Foster's fault, right?
Yes, that was always that actually could legitimately be true. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text messages at 610-632-0975. Do you believe the big 3 of George, Embiid, and Maxey plus Daryl Morey can win? And again, winning is not just 50 games and making it to the playoffs, Daryl. Right? Winning is the big picture. the NBA Finals, which is what we're waiting for at this point. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Adrian Pacheco in for John here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
We'll check our text line here in a second. I don't think you can notice on YouTube, but I'm very self-conscious. So
tell them why.
So yesterday I did a ton of yard work. Cooper was sick, so the kid was just laying on the couch watching TV. So I basically had the windows open. I said, if you need me, I'll be out front. Right?
Give me a holler. Yeah.
I locked the doors. I brought the key out with me. You name it. Right? Just so that he's safe in his little space. And so I had 45 bags of mulch that I had to lay out. And I was going to do it yesterday and today thinking he'd be at daycare, but he wasn't.
Should have called Bill's father-in-law.
I should have. But I do it my own, man. All right, I'm a man when it comes out to those bags of mulch. So yesterday, I was out from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 p.m.
That's a shift, man.
Like,
that's a
all
shift.
day. I would do pop-ins to see how Coop's doing, all that. I got him down for his nap, you name it. But I don't wear gloves when I do yard work. And the problem with the, black dyed mulch is I got it all over my hands.
Why don't you wear gloves with anything? You golf without gloves.
I see it now. I see it now.
You can see it in my fingernails.
I didn't see it until right now.
I don't wear batting gloves. I don't wear gloves when I lift. I don't know why people do that. That's a look at me situation.
You can't be doing that. That's a horrible look, too.
So I've washed my hands with Dawn soap. I went with, like the ducks, right? Whenever they unfortunately get the oil on them. Dawn, a million times. I showered 3 times yesterday because I was doing stuff in shifts, right? And then it got so bad, even though I have cuts all over my hands, I just went hand sanitizer and just dealt with the burning pain.
Just trying to get it off.
But the problem is on the sides of the fingernails and even on my skin, you can see it right there.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. And so I'm self-conscious. I'm keeping my hands down here so nobody sees.
Yeah, nobody look at me.
This guy's got brown hands.
Yeah, do you not wash your hands, bro?
You got to do what I do with splinters. Just leave it in and let it work itself out.
I got one here. It'll fall out eventually.
But what I'm most proud of is that you didn't wear the gloves and cut the little fingers out so that you look like Marv from Home Alone 2.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that either. They're there for you. But
that's weird.
I just don't wear gloves. I just, I like to feel it.
Listen, you go home, you dive around in the mulch, you spin around in it. Guess what? Everything's going to be the same color again.
Yeah. No, I don't need to do that. All right, what do we got on the text line so far this morning on any of our talking points today, Gunner?
We got Bob in Harrisonburg, Virginia, all over the country. First-time texter on this one. Sixers run it back. They can barely limp it back with the sunken cost of 2 boat anchor max deals on age and broken down. Former stars and the lack of picks going forward. The best-case scenario is being competitive in 2030.
I'm telling you right now, and I know this is people are gonna get pissed off when they hear it. Joel Embiid is not a former star. All right? If he is on the court, the dude is still a star. Problem is he's not on the court nearly enough. And last year was a disaster. If you think about it, 2 seasons ago, just 2 seasons ago, do you remember all those post-game interviews with Kate and Ala? You just did something for the first time since Wilt Chamberlain. You just did something for the first time since Michael Jordan. He was having a ridiculous start to the season. And then they shouldn't have played him against the Warriors. And then Jonathan Kuminga fell on his leg, and it went in the opposite direction. And people claim that that's an injury-prone thing. No, if a 200-plus pound man is falling on your knee when it's not bended and it's going to snap it backwards, it's going to lead to an injury for anybody.
Could you make the case, though, that he's a 7-foot guy and he has more of a chance to get fallen on because he's always on the ground?
That's a good point.
But they're dogging him like he's Derek Coleman of the 2001
Neck
Sixers.
rolls.
Yeah,
right. No, this guy just it's freak injury after freak injury after freak injury. But when he plays, he is still a star. I don't know if Paul George, you can still say that. Even when he was healthy last year, I did not see anything from Paul George where I was going, all right, there's that Pacers Paul George, let alone anything else.
I got exactly what I expected out of that guy, and I never wanted him here. I can't lie. That's exactly what I expected out of Paul George. He was going to be hurt, and he was going to be old.
Yeah, I was wrong because I was excited when the Sixers got him. That made me even more excited for the season, and then it quickly spiraled out of control.
Well, because from a fit standpoint, it makes sense.
The spacing and all that.
But it's not unfortunately, with this team specifically, with all the injuries that we know about, it's not just about fit. It's about whether or not you can play on the court.
Mm-hmm. And be available.
And your best player is usually not available, right? If he's playing 50 games, that means there's 32 games that you need to have somebody that can win you basketball games. And when I saw Maxey and Paul George together last year, I did not see enough in order for me to say, all right, that's going to be good enough. And oh, by the way, you're not going to see Paul George play all that much because he, too, is injury-prone.
The ironic part was they were trying to sell you on Embiid's going to miss some games. We're going to sit him on purpose, and we're going to have a second star that can now step up and be that guy next to Maxey. And he wasn't even on the court by himself, and even when he was, didn't look great at all.
Yeah, so both of your stars are banged up. Now you're asking someone who's a very good Robin in Tyrese Maxey to step up and be something that he's probably ill-equipped to do.
Yeah.
And speaking of Maxey, dude, this was the first year where you saw him sulk a little bit. Like, he did not look like that happy-go-lucky kid, and I don't blame him.
I don't blame him at all. I don't blame him at all. And you threw a lot on his shoulders. And look, by the way, you are paying him to do it. So he needs to get his attitude figured out. But he also sulked a lot. You know, you talk to any reporter like Keith Pompey, he just kind of looked miserable in the locker room even when he was hurt. He's not a guy that wants to go through a tank. Like, they probably had to beg him to not play down the stretch when they were coming up with ways to get guys out. Yeah, to get guys out of the lineup. All right, give us one more text message, Gunner.
All right, we got somebody checking in on that Dallas Goedert conversation. He's not too fond of it, I guess. He said, we also didn't win the Super Bowl without a Slay, a CJ, GJ, Sweaty, Milton. Dallas Goedert does not even make the team's top 10 irreplaceable players.
It's a wild thing to say.
Yeah, okay. Well, put Grant Calcaterra in Dallas Goedert's place for 17 games.
Yeah.
And see how the offense looks. Obviously, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, you have Saquon Barkley. But you can't run the offense the same way that you could with Dallas Goedert in place. No. You're limited with Grant Calcaterra. He's a pass-receiving tight end who is extremely deficient in blocking and limits what you're able to do, especially if the tush-push gets banned.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a big part of this team.
So miss me with the Dallas Goedert slight.
I really do think what you said earlier, people are taking him for granted because of the injuries, which obviously that's a big part of it, and because John has floated out numbers of how the team has been without him and how it's not necessarily been all that bad. But over the course of the season, and again, I'll say it, I feel comfortable saying it, you're not winning the Super Bowl last year without him. If he was still hurt come playoff time, you needed him in that Packers game.
He provided the jolt. He's stiff-armed. He was downright disrespectful after the catch.
Man. I loved it.
And he plays with attitude. You need that.
You definitely do. All right, coming up next, I'm curious to see how you guys feel about this. Mike asked Daryl Morey a question about Josh Harris yesterday. I've been on the record about something numerous times when it comes to Josh Harris. I think I'm in the minority when it comes to it. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. We'll play the clip and we'll talk more about it coming up next. It is Kincade Salciunas on this Friday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies get the second sweep of the season. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies completed the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays last night by a score of 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start, was on the mound for the Phils. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, only allowed 2 earned runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run home run from Bryson Stott in the 8th inning. The Phillies completed that comeback in extras with the win. With both contributions with RBIs from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. And the win, Kyle Schwarber also extended his on-base streak to 43 consecutive games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phils head up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola's on the mound tonight. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA draft lottery is quickly approaching this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. If any fans have any questions about the Sixers core going forward, well, Daryl Morey would answer those questions while appearing on the Mike Missanelli show yesterday.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
Sounds like our big three is here to stay. Whether you like it or not, it's a different question. And now we're 5 days away from the NFL schedule release coming out on May 14th, and we're going to find out the exact road to repeat for the Eagles. We'll keep you updated on any news we hear surrounding that. This update was brought to you by AAA Car Care. Come into your local AAA Car Care Center and get a $39.99 full synthetic oil change plus a free tire rotation. Restrictions apply. Offer ends May 31st. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Brendan Gunn on home of the Truist Championship. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 The Fanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
Touchdown!
and Brendan, you've probably heard me say this numerous times, but I don't blame Josh Harris, and I don't think he's a bad owner, which is something that a lot of people continuously bring up. So real quick, let's play the clip. Mike had Daryl Morey on yesterday, and he brought up Josh Harris. Take a listen to what Daryl Morey had to say about the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers.
First thing, he's not diverted. Obviously, he's sort of a mogul and owns many businesses, both in sports and without. But he is so committed to turning this franchise around. Obviously, a lot of that could start with Monday. We could get some positive news there that'll help the franchise.
So the diversion, obviously, people were talking about he's owner of the Sixers, owner of the Devils, and then his favorite
Commanders
is the Commanders. And I know that's something that bothers John. I know it's something that bothers a lot of Philadelphia fans. I know it bothered them before he even acquired the Commanders. That just the Sixers-Devils thing, because the Devils are a rival, quote-unquote, to the Flyers. Has he ever skimped out on paying a coach or a player?
No.
And
overpaying.
Isn't that all you like? I don't need Josh Harris in a room trying to find 3-and-D players.
I don't need him doing that either, but for comparison, it feels like a billionaire dad that just pays for everything for his kid to be in a nice school, but is not directly there involved in it.
Okay, well, if he's
absentee,
but if he's
absentee,
but if he's a bad dad that won't be able to raise the kid all that well anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather that the other than the latter. But
here's the deal: Josh Harris isn't screaming football guy to me either. Right?
No, not in the slightest.
He just he rebuilt that organization by bringing in the right people. Now, one thing that John has pointed out that I can't disagree with is a lot of the people that maybe people don't know about behind the scenes with the Sixers are now working with the Commanders. A lot of the PR stuff. But even so, is somebody that was a part of the front office with the Sixers. I'm not saying front office decision making. I'm saying business stuff.
He's not negligent.
Is that person not with the Sixers the reason why Paul George is with the Sixers now? No. Daryl Morey is the reason why they signed Paul George. Daryl Morey is the guy that wanted to go out and get Paul George. Josh Harris, maybe you don't want him to be gone because you want him to have a better president of basketball operations. You want to make that point, fine. But I don't think Josh Harris has ever done anything to harm this basketball team.
He's not a negligent guy. I mean, you don't want him making decisions. So what are we...
That's the thing.
What are you expecting him to do?
And I always go to teams like the Marlins or the Pirates.
The Rays.
Okay, you find the talent, but then you don't keep any of them because your ownership literally refuses to pay them. They'll trade them away to just try to get young talent again and prospects so that you hope that you can catch lightning in a bottle like the Marlins have twice now with 2 World Series wins where they caught lightning in a bottle before they got rid of everybody.
But are we the Los Angeles Angels where we're willing to spend money, but the correct protocol, the correct whatever, however you cultivate a winning organization, it's just not there, but you can throw money at whoever you want.
The allocation of resources is misplaced.
Yes. Yeah, that could be it too. And so you fire Daryl Morey and you pay the next high-priced person. There's a reason why they're sought-after commodities, though. Think about the coaches post Brett Brown. Doc Rivers and Nick Nurse were both highly thought-of people that got paid a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, he's still – I don't know if Doc's still on the books, but, Josh Harris is not afraid to continue to pay somebody. He's paying Elton Brand God knows how much money to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally to do nothing.
So much that Elton Brand's willing to take his name personally out of other jobs.
Right, exactly. So I understand the optics of the owner being on Monday Night Football, awkwardly shaking Joe Buck's hand.
And it was incredibly awkward.
It was so awkward. It was such a weird moment. And the Commanders are now, if the Commanders sucked last year, maybe this is not a talking point, but the fact that the Commanders were in the NFC Championship game with you last year, and he was shown in the box having a great time. When the Sixers are winning games and he's sitting courtside, you see him. You see him celebrating.
I think because the Sixers have been such a disappointment and there's so much frustration, it's easy to point fingers everywhere. And now Josh Harris has drawn the ire
Probably, especially because you're seeing the growth of the Commanders, and I get that. That's people. It's a rivalry.
If you're mad at it that it's a rivalry, that's silly to me. Now, can you be mad at it because it's the new shiny toy and that's what he's all invested in? I think there's an argument for that. But to be simply mad at it because it's one of our rivals from our football team,
what is he not invested in when it comes to the Sixers?
He's not outwardly like that. He's not getting the draft here. He's not. Now there's no draft for the NBA like the NFL.
He was trying to build. He was trying to build you an arena. He wanted to build an arena in the city until that thing fell through.
Yeah, but that was also very polarizing because where he wanted to put it, both at Penn's Landing and downtown, a lot of people didn't. It was split right down the middle with that.
Right, but he was still he's still trying to do stuff for the team. Like that's the thing. Yeah. Like, absentee owner. Well, I don't need him to evaluate film. Like I don't.
You don't need him meddling.
Do you have a pen in your hand, and is there a blank check, and are you writing it? And he's doing that.
It's on Daryl Morey to get the talent in place.
Right, and if you don't think Daryl Morey's the guy and you think Josh Harris should have fired him, I don't blame you for having that opinion. I don't think Josh Harris didn't fire Daryl Morey. I think there's a lot of people that assume this because he's so focused on the Commanders. I don't think that's the case. I think the case is they had a crap ton of injuries this year, and they can point to that right away. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Now, before we get to the text messages, I have not done this yet with the new phone system. I missed yesterday because Coop was homesick. So let me see if I can do this right. Let's go to Lamont in North Philly. Does this actually work? What's up, Lamont? See, I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Apparently, it's a touch screen on the phone.
Let's
in
see.
there.
On air one. What's up, Lamont?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Hey, there
Look
it
at
is.
me. Look
What's
at the
up,
big
Lamont?
brains on Andrew.
Can you guys hear me?
Got you loud and clear. Wow, we're back.
Gotcha. I just wanted to speak on Morey. I just want to chime in. Hey, Morey's a jerk. We all know he's a jerk, and he's lying. He's lying through his teeth, and we all can hear that.
What do you think he's lying about?
I mean, I think he's lying about what he's going to do improvement-wise in reference to the team. I just don't think that what we have is strong enough for the contending teams that we have in the East Coast, literally in the East Coast alone.
Right. I mean, look, the playoffs have been great. Look, the Celtics are down 2-0 for crying out loud. But I'm trying to figure out what you're saying by he's lying. Like, he is going to try to fix the team. Like, it's not like he's just going to sit on his hands.
Yeah. Hopefully he tries. But I just think that's proven. That's factual. And he hasn't done anything since he's been here in reference to that. And that's the most important part.
Right. The big thing is it's all about the title. And thanks for the call, Lamont. Like when you're doing the process was not to just be a 2 seed or to be a second round elimination team or to be a 2 seed or a 1 seed. The process was to win a title. Now, step one was to get out of purgatory, which they did that with all the contracts they had, the bad contracts. And then it was to get talented players, which they did. And a lot of people turned like the Thunder. The Thunder did the exact same thing. It may have just been timing was different, right? And then there was more information about guards. And like you get Joel Embiid. Let's not forget the fact that they wanted to build around Simmons. Go back to go back to any story. They wanted to build around Ben. The problem was Joel Embiid flourished and became this superstar, and Ben Simmons lost love for the sport. And so now they're going, all right, we got to pivot. We got to build around a big man, which is something that you don't typically do anymore in today's NBA unless you have Nikola Jokic, and everybody points to the Jokic versus Embiid conversation. Yes, Jokic is available and is the better player than Joel Embiid. I don't think there's a debate there. But let's not act like Jokic doesn't have talent around him.
Exactly.
And players that fit around. Like Aaron Gordon is still winning them basketball games. Like Joel Embiid hasn't had a team around him.
No, the objective obviously always is to win. He's going to try to do that, but I just don't know if we've seen enough to suggest that he's going to make the right decisions. Right. And they have a lot of work to do to clean this up.
Right, because we're now basing resume off of something that's happened, 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
With the James Harden trade. And then you bring him back, and then that falls apart. Like, that was a disaster.
Yeah, so
the neon sign with the Daryl Morey's a liar, and then Harden's in China.
Yeah, recent history has not been kind.
No, it really has not been. He's doing the shoe deal. All right, what do we got on the text line?
Yeah, we got actually the YouTube chat. Neil Deaver, who's Ned Flanders from, he shouted you out the other day to put you on the right direction of the Adam Schefter thing. Doesn't sound like he's too keen on Josh Harris. He says it was the natural breaking point this past offseason to fire Morey, so I can't believe Harris did not do that.
Look, I am stunned that Morey's back. Full disclosure. I was stunned when he came back. Is it because Josh Harris has too much money tied up to the Commanders now that he doesn't want to pay another guy to not work? Could be. That could be a legitimate thing. I don't know. I got to talk to the guy about it. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Morey's back. I don't. But
you like continuity.
Yeah, but I admittedly, I said at some point during the months leading up to the decision that he would inevitably be fired. So I'm shocked that he is back.
You're not the only one. I was, and I'm sure a lot of the Delaware Valley and beyond were as well.
But is it literally just because of the money? Maybe, maybe not. He's paying a lot of guys that aren't here anymore. I don't know. Like, Josh Harris to me is one of the least of my worries when it comes to the Philadelphia State. It's not his
just
fault.
An easy target.
Yeah, it's not his fault that Embiid's knee doesn't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Obviously, he had to sign off on the extension, blah, blah, blah. I get it. All right, coming up next, we'll get to some football outside of the Eagles for a second, but in division, because the Cowboys acquired a big-name receiver earlier in the week. You said something pre-show this morning that made me laugh, and I totally agree. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
We want to hear from you.
So text us at 610-632-
is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
Why is the transfusion like the drink of golf? Can anyone explain that to me?
That's a good question.
Because
I would not be the person to ask about that.
I've never had one, and I never heard of one, honestly, until last Friday. John got one on the golf course, and then I found out that that's like a big golf drink.
I love them. They're good. I don't know why it's the golf drink. Maybe because there's hard liquor in case you suck, but then Gatorade to keep you hydrated in case you're all right.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ingredients right now.
I think that's a tremendous combination. A lot of electrolytes to balance things out.
Tito's.
So
you go with the Gatorade because this has Concord grape juice on it.
I go Gatorade.
Okay.
If they have it, most places don't really have. I'd say I go half and half. Some
Fierce
places
grape?
have grape
You
juice.
do Fierce Grape?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Look at that's you're classing up the operation here.
Right, man.
Listen.
But good look. The truest crew is back in action today here in studio. Mike Missanelli, Bill Colarulo, and Ray Dunn. They were in matching polos yesterday. It was nice.
I need one of those.
I don't have one of those. I don't.
Was that predetermined?
Oh,
The matching
100%. Yeah, they probably told me you have to show up in these.
No, but those specific? Like, I'm just
They
interested.
probably ordered them just for the guys.
I'm curious if they called each other and said, do you want to wear matching polos?
I'm sure that was.
They did backwards hat day before.
All had sunglasses on.
It was a good look.
It was a good family photo.
And a great conversation with Daryl Morey yesterday. Great job by Mike on it. But before we get back to our Sixers discussion or any of our discussions that we've had today, you and I shared a laugh this morning about George Pickens.
That's right.
With the Cowboys. And as talented as he is, the guy's just a head case.
Yeah, he's a troubled player, but coming out of that draft, he was probably the top one or two receivers in that draft. But the reason why he was a second-round pick is because of the baggage that comes with it and the maintenance that he requires. Now, he is a really good player and would complement CD. Does complement CD Lamb.
He's a star
very
player.
well. He's a go up and get it above the rim type of receiver, but he does come with a lot of headaches, and you have to worry about keeping him happy. Or if they lose a game, how is he going to be able to handle that and process it? It could implode very early.
And look, he didn't handle himself well with Mike Tomlin. You think he's going to handle himself well with the first-year head coach and Schottenheimer with the Cowboys in Jerry's world?
Yeah, if you can't, I guess, work with Mike Tomlin, who was able to manage personalities like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Martavis Bryant. I don't know what to tell you. That's an indictment on him.
Like this, and the owner was literally like bad-mouthing Micah Parsons' agent. Like, the owner's not afraid. Jerry's not afraid to speak his mind. And there's some guys that can handle it, and there's some guys that just absolutely can't.
Dallas is not the place for George Pickens.
No, it doesn't seem
I think
like
by week 5, you're going to see him throwing his helmet, screaming at Dak.
Like, he's a very talented player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it's concerning that they have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens.
Is it as simple as keeping him in line of winning, like W's and L's, or does he have to get his as well?
They were winning. They were winning at Pitt. They won in Pittsburgh last year. Like, they won. How many games they win last year? As fake as it was.
They never have a losing record there, so.
He needs to get his for him to be content. That's the highly combustible situation there in Dallas. He's such a talented player, and if his head's on right and he's locked in, that's going to be a problem for the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. It will, because that's two stud receivers, just like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Speaking of, in the next segment, hell may have frozen over twice this week. Alec Bowman, a home run earlier in the week.
That's right.
And I read a pro Jalen Hurts national story. Hell may have frozen over. But before we get to that, let's go back to the phones. I love saying that. Let's go to Tasty Cake Dom. I haven't talked to him in a while. Dom, hey, how you doing, man?
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Love that.
So I listened. I had Mike's show on, and I listened. Mike did a great job.
He did.
He asked all the questions that you wanted to answer. I wasn't real happy with many of the answers.
Me too.
Because the one thing that wasn't addressed is I have no confidence in the coach. I'm not a nurse guy.
You got that off of this? You got that off of this year?
Well, I got it starting in the Knicks playoffs when Tibbs outfoxed him.
Yeah, he did. But like I can't crush him for this year. I mean, I just can't.
And then you go right to roster construction. A big selling point that Daryl Morey said, Andrew, was Grimes, Jared McCain, and Maxey. They're all ball dominant guards. Can they play together, Andrew?
That's what I've been trying to say, and I've been saying it all.
Who's coming off the ball there?
It's a good question, Dom, and I've been saying it all show. Quentin Grimes was fun to watch when everybody else was out. I don't know how Quentin Grimes plays with Maxey, with Paul George, with Joel Embiid. Is he going to be as efficient as a scorer when he's not taking 20 shots in a game?
You're watching Knicks Celtics, right, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown is busting down. I mean, Jalen Brunson is busting down Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Who's guarding Jaylen Brown on the Sixers? Jared McCain?
Yeah, good question. Look, they it would probably end up because Paul George would be on Tatum. It's a great question, man. And Dommy, great hearing from you as always, brother. I'm looking at Quentin Grimes right now. His field goal attempts to close out the season because they put him on ice too, didn't they? 14, 17, 25, 18, 16. He's not taking that many shots.
No.
On a nightly basis?
No, come on.
Those 5 games. See if this pops up for me. Of course it's not going to. I'm trying to see what that would average out to be. But he's averaging around 20 shots a game. That's not going to happen with this team. So is he going to be the efficient scorer when he's only taking maybe 7?
I was going to say, even half of that's not going to happen.
We'll see, man. All right, coming up next, a pro Jalen Hurts national article. A pro Eagles national article. Believe it or not.
The main thing.
They win. That's what it took, them winning the Super Bowl. We'll go through that next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew DeCecco in for John today. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep in Tampa. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Yes, the Phillies completed their second sweep of the season last night, beating the Tampa Bay Rays 7-6 in extra innings. Jesus Luzardo got the start on the mound for the Phillies. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out 4, only allowed 2 earned runs. After entering the 8th inning down 5-1, the Phillies tied it up in their final 2 at-bats, in large part due to a 3-run bomb from Bryson Stott in the 8th. The Phillies completed that comeback win in extras with an RBI each from Brandon Marsh and Trey Turner. In the win, Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 43 consecutive games. The road trip continues this weekend as the Phils head up to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Aaron Nola is going to be on the mound tonight for the Phils. First pitch is at 7:10. The NBA draft lottery is quickly approaching this coming Monday, and the Sixers look to build for the future. If any fans had any questions about the Sixers core going forward, Daryl Morey joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday and answered that.
Look, we're committed to Joel, Paul, and Tyrese.
Our big three's not going anywhere, whether you like that or not. That's a different question. And now we're just 5 days away from the NFL schedule release on May 14th, where you'll find out the road to repeat for the Birds. We'll keep you updated on that as we hear any news. This update was brought to you by Moyer Indoor and Outdoor Services. Follow Andrew Salciunas' lead and get a jump on a lush green lawn this spring right now. Go to emoyer.com for free estimates. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the Truist Championship, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
They're top 8 in batting average. They're top 4 in on-base percentage.
story outside of Philadelphia sports, Gunner. Don't worry, you don't have to hit the breaking news sounder. Sources. Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, reportedly banned from the UNC facility.
That's outstanding.
Oh, my God.
Does he coach a game at UNC?
It's a.
I think he does, Gunner, but I don't think he finishes the season. I think it's just going to be a train wreck.
You know what this is? I know I won't do the Bill Belichick voice because I'm not really good at it. But Bill Belichick goes to the people upstairs and goes, "Hey, you need to take the fall for me. I don't want her here as much as you guys don't want her here, but you need to make the decision.
Don't make me the bad guy here.
Hook me up, man. Like I'm in love, kind of. I guess I don't know. I don't know what that relationship's like. More power to him. But I wonder if that was all right, but this doesn't come back on me. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
But
banner, but you didn't hear it from me.
Here's the quote. So this was Pablo Torre was talking about it with UNC sources. 2 sources at the University of North Carolina tell me that there has been a decision that was made last week by the higher-ups inside the athletic department that hired Bill Belichick to be the highest-paid public employee, not just coach in the state of North Carolina at $10 million a year. And that decision was that Jordan Hudson, she's no longer allowed in the football building. She's not allowed on the football field. Don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward.
That's great. It needed to happen.
It needed to happen.
It makes me
we were
wonder.
talking about that last week.
Yeah, on Early Birds.
That's right.
It was great, but what did she do to cross that line where she's banned? Like, I know she's insane, insufferable, like
honestly,
crazy. Is there something more to the story?
The interview, I think, was maybe the final straw where it's like, hey, we need you to focus on coaching. Like, we paid you $10 million to recruit and be the head coach of the UNC Tar Heels.
And the optics of what it looked like from the player's perspective.
Right.
Like, are you all in, or like what is going on here? Because
I don't think
now
Jordan Hudson was making football decisions.
Or was Bill just getting jealous? Did he not want his players to make a move at his girlfriend that's much closer in age to them?
See, that's more realistic, I think. I think that him going upstairs and saying, listen, I want you to ban her, but you didn't hear it from me.
One more quote from Pablo Torre. According to his sources, Bill Belichick's family is extraordinarily concerned by what has transpired. One Belichick family source told me that there is deep worry for how detrimental Jordan can be for not just North Carolina, but Bill's legacy, his reputation, everything he's built and worked for over the decades.
Well, look, it sounds like a healthy relationship.
Look, no, hold on. If they ended up getting married and they were together till the day Bill passed, which would probably be before Jordan, just a guess.
Jordan wouldn't even be my age by then.
I'm gonna still remember Bill Belichick as one of, if not the greatest coaches in the history of the NFL. Like,
I'm telling you, the Tom Brady winning a bowl without him completely wrecked that guy.
It could have. You might be right. You've been saying that.
He's a broken man.
All right. A pro Jalen Hurts Eagles article. Kind of article. So we're now in the offseason. So obviously there's a lot of, we got to get content out there. So Ben Arthur for Fox, after the Pickens trade to the Cowboys, did his top 10 passing trios in the NFL. I know you love lists like this, Andrew.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Obviously, it's the quarterback and then whatever the 2 options are. So it doesn't have to be wide receiver. It could be tight end as well. So at number 10, Lamar, which may sound crazy because people are like, oh, my God, Lamar. But there's better receivers than Zay Flowers. Now, he puts Mark Andrews. It seems like they're starting to turn from Mark Andrews and go to Isaiah Likely. So I don't know why they wouldn't have Likely on there, but Andrews did have a resurgence second half of the season.
Another impactful tight end that changes the dimension of an offense.
Yes, absolutely. Number 9, Purdy, Kittle, and Ayuk. Number 8, I believe this one should be higher. Mayfield, Evans, and Godwin.
That should be top 5. I mean, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer.
Yes, and still playing.
Yeah,
at a high. He comes back and still reaches his 1,000-yard mark.
And you can even toss that Buka on there instead of a banged-up Chris Godwin. And there's
but Chris Godwin, if he comes back healthy, like that's a scary offense. 7, Mahomes, Kelsey, and Rashee Rice. Honestly, Mahomes is the reason why they're at 7.
Yeah, Rashee Rice. I mean,
Rashee Rice isn't better than either Evans or Chris Godwin for the Bucs. Number 6. Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. Tua stinks.
Tua stinks, and I don't think Jalen Waddle has become the player that they thought he was.
He's not.
If Mahomes is going to get his team on the board, Tua should get his team off the board.
Like,
he's terrible.
The trio of Evans and Godwin and Mayfield should be higher than that. Number 5, Stafford, Nakua, and Devontae Adams. I think you're relying a lot on Devontae Adams to put them top 5.
Nakua is excellent, though.
Stud. And Stafford's still stud.
Yeah, and I'm a big Stafford guy.
But Devontae Adams, I'm still wondering if that's worthy of 5th. Number 4, Cowboys with Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. I can't really argue that because they're going to be good. It's just
if Pickens is right, if his head's
if he's right, yeah. And when does Prescott throw the bad interception? 3, I take exception to. Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams last year was a big boomer bust player. Like, he would have a big game or he'd be nothing.
And there was whispers they were willing to move off him towards the draft back then a couple weeks ago. Now it didn't come to fruition, but what do they think about him?
I'm also not a big Goff guy.
Is that top 3? That's nuts.
No.
That's top 3. Number 2, your Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I don't see how you can deny that. Number 1, they have Burrow, Chase Higgins, which I agree. Just because Burrow, the quarterback, the passer, is better than Hurts. Chase and Higgins, I would like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I think are even. I think it's just the Burrow factor that puts him in.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I would definitely put the Bucs at 5, and I would probably knock the Rams down to 6 if I'm splitting hairs here.
Yeah, I think the Bucs should be higher on this list. But look at that, a pro Eagles article where they actually think highly of the team. And usually whenever it's Jalen Hurts related, they usually get knocked down a peg just because it's, he doesn't throw the ball. And of course he plays well. Look at the weapons around him. They have him at number 2.
Yeah, there's usually a lot of slights attributed to Jalen. So this was a different type of article.
I like that. I like that there's
a much more balanced article, objective.
A much more real article. Like, instead of let me just lower the Eagles just because it's Philadelphia.
And we want to get reaction.
And they usually get that. All right, what do we got on the text line, Gunner?
I can't tell if this guy's an Eagles fan or not, but he says Goedert is the most overrated tight end in football, not even top 15.
That's stupid.
Obviously, no other team wanted him. Same old predictable Eagles homer nonsense. Everything they do is a fantastic move, even bringing Goedert back.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's dumb. To say he's not a top 15 tight end, you're already, it's over.
I disagree with everything he said and just, erroneous. Anyway, we'll press on.
Yeah. I just, let's move on.
All right, we got somebody checking in saying,
thanks for giving me a minute breather.
That guy's an idiot. All right, well, I'm just being honest.
You don't have to be thrilled that Dallas Goedert's back, but don't make up nonsense.
I mean, once you say he's not a top 15 tight end, you already lost all your credit.
I can't even name 15 other tight ends.
Right.
Let's be honest. But somebody checks in saying, I don't even know if you could trade Joel Embiid or Paul George in 2K at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can probably find somebody to trade Paul George with. You can. There's other disgruntled stars. There's other injured players. There's other teams that are looking to change things up.
You really think there's going to be somebody, we can get a 35-year-old player who's banged up? Sign me up.
Well, the problem is he's got 4 years left. If he had 2 years left, it's a totally different conversation, but he's got 4 years left.
Yeah.
Well, I think about, the Miami Heat are looking for, now they're probably going to try to get younger, but, there's going to be teams that are looking for somebody to put them over the hump. Let's say the Cavs, right? I don't think Paul George is clamoring to go to Cleveland, but Cleveland's down 2-0 in this series to the Pacers. They were a great young team, regular season team. They might want somebody that can put them over the hump. They have financial flexibility because they don't have all these max contracts. I mentioned the Thunder earlier today. Not that, to your point, Brendan, maybe Paul George doesn't go back there, but what I'm saying is there are teams that have young, talented rosters that might think, all right, we can take on that contract. We're not going to ask him to be our number 1 or number 2 scorer, but we have the financial flexibility where we can bring that guy in to be a fourth piece. He is still a good defensive player. Last year when he was on the court, he was still rating out highly defensively. But offensively, he was not what you needed.
Dreadful, yeah.
Not even close to it. All right, we got another segment left. We have our key three. We'll check some more text messages. Also, we have a series to preview for you. Now that the Phillies completed their sweep of the Rays yesterday, they begin a 3-game series with the Guardians. We'll talk about that coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew DeCecco in for John here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
What is it about Trey Turner that makes you bail? Like right.
Salciunas, 97.5. The Fanatic Mike Missanelli Show coming your way at 10 o'clock. Don't forget that's your next chance to win $1,000 is right at 10 o'clock. And let's give out a pair of tickets now. Caller number 1. We don't have a contest line, right? Did I miss anything?
Maybe it's the old one, but there's nothing located on the phones like it used to be.
All
so
right,
just call in.
Until I find out, caller number 1 to 610-632-0975. We'll get the pair of general admission tickets to Maurice Pierce Eagles Autism event. I love what the Eagles do. It's just such a great cause, such a great organization. Call now to win the pair of general admission tickets for the Eagles Autism event. It's on July 13th at Maurice Pier. Maurice Pier's Amusement Rides and Raging Waters Water Park. For more info on the event, head to www.mauricepiers.com/event. Call number 1, 610-632-0975. Great event.
That sounds great. Yeah, no, the Eagles do it every year.
Yeah,
they knock it out of the park.
Wonderful.
Tremendous.
All right, Phillies begin a 3-game series with the Cleveland Guardians today. The Guardians, an interesting team. They're my pick to win the AL Central, even though the Tigers obviously fun and young. I do have a ticket on the Royals because they had like the 4th best odds in their division to win it. And they're right there with the Guardians right now. I like that Royals team a lot. But the Guardians are 22-15. But their pitching rotation, which is supposed to be sort of their backbones, like that's what keeps them winning baseball games. The ERAs have been not too good for the Guardians rotation, and you're going to see a couple of those guys this upcoming series. Right now, you have the probables are Gavin Williams, who's got a 5.06 ERA, Tanner Bibby, who's a very good pitcher, but he's got a 4.26 ERA, and Luis Ortiz has a 5.30 ERA. Nola, Suarez, Zach Wheeler getting the starts for the Phillies. We'll see if Suarez can look better in his second outing because that first one was just not so good.
No. This is going to be a tough series for them. I think you could look at it as the Phillies are hitting their stride right now, and they should be able to handle. I think they can win 2 of those games. But then it gets a little bit easier after there. But this Guardians series I'm fascinated with to see if someone like a Trey Turner is going to continue his upward trajectory, to see if someone like a Brandon Marsh has maybe had an awakening. Well, I'm kind of fascinated by the whole thing.
Now I'm curious because I'm the loser that watches like all these teams. Have you guys paid close enough attention to the Cleveland Guardians to tell me who their best starting pitcher so far this season based off of ERA is?
No idea.
You got me.
How about that Ben Lively? Former Philly Ben Lively.
See, it's only the second week of May, so that's the story I'm sticking to.
Ben Lively, man, pitched in 2017 and 18 with the Phillies. He was a part of one of the Dodgers trades. I don't know if it was J-Roll or Chase. It was one of the two. Then he goes to the Royals. Then he's out of baseball for 4 years. From 2019 to 2023, out of baseball. I think he may have pitched in the KBO. And then he comes back with the Reds in 2023, is okay with the Reds. And now all of a sudden he's found this like resurgence with the Guardians.
That's absurd to me.
Like last year, in 29 starts, he went 13-10 with a 3.81 ERA.
Like he's a serviceable starter out there. I mean, he's the best on their team right now.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah,
Here.
Look,
it's still early.
In the long run, he's not their best
13-10. I'll take that all day.
Yeah,
from a deep rotation guy, but
a reclamation project. Yeah,
it's just it's been an amazing turnaround for him. All right, so let's get a couple more text messages. We got our key 3 coming up at 9:48.
All right, we got Floyd in Georgia checking in saying that's our problem in regards to the Sixers. They always try to build with the right pieces, in quotation marks. We should try to get an abundance of good players and stop trying to build around one player. That's always been the Sixers' downfall. Barkley, Iverson, Embiid, you name it. Just accumulate talent and find a good coach that puts them in position to win.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done. Like, you do have to find guys that fit. And Joel Embiid has a very specific skill set that you need to get guys that fit. The problem is with this Sixers team, and my entire life, honestly, they have not had wing players. Like Andre Iguodala had a very good career and could go into the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, right? Because especially more so what he did with the Warriors than what he did with the Sixers. But like, there's a lot of better players than Andre Iguodala.
I mean, he had his limitations,
and that was the best wing player of my lifetime. And now it's resume, it's Paul George, but what does that do for me? What does resume do for me? Like it does nothing. Just like Daryl Morey, just like Daryl Morey dropping the resume. Like your success in Houston has nothing to do with what you're doing with the Sixers right now. Has nothing to do with it. So it's easier said than done. If you just throw out a bunch of good players, like they need to be able to fit with Joel Embiid, who whether you like it or not is still their focal point until they do what I think they should do. Now Embiid would have to buy into it. He would have to play second fiddle, but like 1A, 1B second fiddle with Tyrese Maxey.
I feel like he might buy into that. If it's going to put them on a course to win, you don't seem like you're.
Can you go into the season though, banking on anything from Joel Embiid, or should you go into it? He's the cherry on top of whatever, and we're going to build otherwise. Like I don't. From what I'm hearing from them, it does not sound like a guarantee he's going to ever play sustainable basketball.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Build around Maxey and just have him beat around here? Like you can't. Like
it's tough, but like. I feel like it's the you're just doubling down on something that's not going to work. Like it's a fallacy. Like it's the sunken cost fallacy. Just because we've already made the mistake doesn't mean we have to keep doubling, tripling down on it.
But to your proposal, Andrew, if winning is truly the main thing for Joel Embiid, and you said he's 31 years old,
win a championship,
you might have to settle with being a second fiddle. Because if you build the team around you, if you are the centerpiece and you're not available, you're going to run into the same problems you just ran into. You can only rely so much on a draft pick.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have the confidence that Daryl Morey is going to be able to bring the right personnel in place to complement the current infrastructure.
Yeah, because right now it's been a lot of misses. And him just finally realizing that they should get younger and more athletic. Like, I can't believe, like, it took this long.
I mean, yeah, that's been a blueprint for a lot of teams. You know, get younger, more athletic.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Mind-blowing.
9:48, time now for the Key 3, our 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, today's best.
I'll ask you, Andrew, before we play our first clip from Daryl Morey, do you have any faith that he can lead this big 3? It's this group of 4 to still winning a championship. And that's what it's all about. It's championship.
I don't. I think they're going to be a playoff team next year, Andrew, but I don't view them as being a championship contender, not with the current infrastructure. Now, you and I are Embiidsmen.
Yes.
I think that when he was at his best, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more impressive athlete in this city.
There's a reason why he was an MVP and a runner-up 2 times. But if I'm doing the what-if game with Joel Embiid, you have to play the same game with Paul George. The guy's never
100%.
healthy.
He literally just turned 35 years old. He's not going to suddenly get healthier. And I think what we've seen this year is Maxey is not equipped to lead a team.
Yeah.
He's a 1B.
Right. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good, but he's not the guy. When you drop the resume or when you start telling people I know what I'm doing, trust me, that's when you know your back is up against the wall. Because here's the deal. I don't think he has another answer.
He doesn't. Bear me the resume. I can go to Google and find it. Give us answers. That's what we're looking for as fans of this basketball team. And he continues to come up short. And when you have that much talent, it's really inexcusable. He has a lot of work to do this offseason.
And the problem is, Andrew, the future, his future, right? The Daryl Morey, you drop the resume of I'm good at winning, his first year I've ever been in the lottery. You're basing the future of the Philadelphia 76ers, like the near future, the next couple of years, on ifs.
It's pretty wild.
Important players to the team. They were young. Montejunas, my Lithuanian brother, and he was his second year in the league. He's pointing out this revelation of, wow, we need young players. Dude, you had that already. Well, when you were the guy, when everybody wanted Daryl Morey as their president of basketball operations, you had that youth.
So why the deviation? Did he just try to patchwork
it? I don't know. And so here's one of my biggest problems, Andrew, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Fair or unfair? I don't like it when he has the exact same answer as his press conference and other interviews. whether it's somebody from ESPN's interviewing him or now at the Mike Missanelli show. I don't like the predetermined answer.
It sounds calculated in my mind, and it sounds like he still has that bit of arrogance to him, man. Like talking about, I've never had a losing season, I've never been in the lottery, but I'm also going to do a complete 180. If you're going to do a complete 180, you got to lose the arrogance because it means you were completely wrong this past season. So you can't have that. They can't go hand in hand together.
Phillies beat the Rays yesterday, 7-6, completing the sweep. And what a way to do it, scoring 3 runs in the 8th after being down 5-1. Then you score a run in the 9th to tie it. You go to extras. You score 2 runs in the top of the 10th. Strahm gets the job done in the bottom half of the 10th. Does give up a run, but obviously the ghost runner makes that pretty difficult, which is why it's important to try to tack on more than one in the top half of the inning. And credit to Brandon Marsh, man. Brandon Marsh in the lineup yesterday, 2 for 4, and had the big go-ahead RBI single in the top of the 10th inning. And the Phillies end up getting the win, and they complete the sweep of the Rays. Do you have any faith that this big three of Embiid and Paul George and Maxey and the leadership of Daryl Morey can win something? That's the key 3, our 3 best minutes from today's show, as we are about to embark on our weekend journey. Again, everybody who is a mother of a human being, happy Mother's Day. Whether it is your, born and raised child or adopted child, as long as it's a human being.
I like that you emphasize
Happy Mother's Day, and not dogs or cats, Haley. Like you have your day tomorrow, pet day or whatever the hell,
ferrets or whatever it is,
fake thing we found out. So enjoy Mother's Day, whether you yourself are the mother or if you're going to go celebrate with your mom or whatever. Enjoy yourselves on Sunday. It's supposed to be beautiful weather on Sunday because last Mother's Day sucked. Horrible.
It was like cold and rainy, right?
Yeah, I remember joking around about that with Christy. I was like, man, Father's Day, it's almost like a lock. Like, you'll be good. Summertime, baby. Whereas last year, even if it's raining during the summer, at least it's warm out, right? The May rain, you might still get a rough day, but it's supposed to be beautiful on Sunday.
Yeah, I hope so.
So enjoy Mother's Day.
Yeah, go enjoy it.
Can you tell us about life-saving cancer research?
We'd love to. Remember to support life-saving cancer research. Join me and our generous partners, Davis CPA Group, in making a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Cancer research saves lives.
And, of course, John Kincade will be back on Monday. He took the day off today because his daughter graduated from the Temple University yesterday, which is a big day for the Kincade family.
Proud alumnus.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. You really show off your true colors over there, Mr. Nova, celebrating the win in the Popal
in the Pope off.
In the Pope off. It's unbelievable, man. Like the amount of tweets I saw about the Villanova Wildcats and the New York Knicks yesterday was just unbelievable, man.
Yeah, everyone's a Knicks fan and a Nova fan.
Unbelievable. Andrew, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate it. The Mike Missanelli Show with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn comes your way next. Don't forget your next chance to win $1,000 is right at 10 o'clock as well. Everybody have a great weekend.